Hi, thank you guys all for coming tonight. It's nice to see a good crowd here tonight for the Gray regular town council meeting, Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 7 p.m. The meeting location is at 24 Main Street, Gray, at the town council chambers. And if you are not able to join in person, you can join Microsoft Teams. And the phone number to call in as well is 469-708-0487 with a meeting ID of 580-458-306#. This, let's see here, I'm going to start with roll call, and I'll start to my right. Ken.
Present.
Vinny.
Present.
Ian.
Present.
Charity.
Present.
And Mike Johnson, I am present as well. We're all here. So we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So do we have a motion to approve the March 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st meeting minutes on as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All right. Does anybody have any changes they want to make, and to which date?
Not that I saw.
No. Then is there, if there's no opposition, then all in favor? All right. So moved, all five. All right. So then we are going to go right into council communications. As you can imagine, I'll move this down a little bit.
There are a number of minutes.
Yeah,
you did them all at once? Okay.
Yeah, I read them all.
Okay.
Yeah. So, council communication, as you can imagine, I've had quite a few phone calls this week with a lot of questions. So I've been trying to take those questions and find out the answers for you. I'll try to respond to as many of them as I can. And, you know, so starting out with the budget, in 2021, the budget was a little over $8.1 million. This year's proposed budget, actually, it's changed a little bit, but the proposed budget was originally $14,053,000. That is an increase of 5.9 or almost $6 million. So I guess the question that everyone's asking is, where is that coming from? And this isn't to pick on any one department or anything, but the fire department increased from 1.3 million in 21 to 2.1 or almost 2.2, roughly $861,000, a 64% increase. The sheriff's department went from 253,786 in 21 to this year proposed of 694,872, which is a 274% increase. The county assessment last year was a little over $1 million, went to roughly 1.2, which is a $167,613,000 increase in just 1 year. On top of that, taxpayers had to absorb over $3 million because of the county not taking on federal funding. And, you know, so let's talk about, you know, what we're getting. You know, we want to talk about the fact a lot of people have been concerned that we're not going to have coverage. We are going to have still 24/7 coverage from Cumberland County. That has always been and always will be. The coverage that does not go away. That's built into the system, and that's part of what the $1.2 million is that we pay for. This cost we've already had. Now, if you add in the additional sheriff contract that we've been looking at, that brings us up to about 1.9 million, which is, you know, a lot of the claims we have, which isn't a small number, which equals to 14% of our overall budget, just for one category. So when we talk about adding more, we're not starting from zero. We're adding to an already significant cost, and that's exactly why this is being looked at. From the available information, because I had a lot of questions about other communities, Standish has 8 officers at about 1.4 million. Harrison has 2 officers at, I wrote that down somewhere because I just got it. Harpswell, oh, I did not get that. Harpswell has 3 full-time officers at 606, and both Standish and Harpswell are both, those numbers include a new vehicle. There are towns like, islands like Fry, Chebeague, and Long Island that have seasonal properties. I also had a call into, Harrison, I did not hear back from them for their numbers. Standish broke it down for me at about $174,000 per officer, and that does include a new vehicle this year. Harpswell is at about $202,000 per officer, and that does include a new vehicle this year as well. And Gray would be at $231 per officer, and that's with no vehicle. So we are paying a lot more than everyone else. Currently, Gray has contracted coverage 6:30 to 4:30, 7 days a week. We will also we will still have available sheriff coverage through the SRO over the summers. The officers typically work a 40-hour, 4 10-hour days, and sometimes they work in other communities. That just to be fair, we're not paying for, but our vehicles, our equipment does get used, and that's one question that did get asked of me. I don't have the answer to that. We don't get reimbursed though when our vehicles getting used. Let's see, New Gloucester has about 6,000 residents. Raymond has about 5,000, and they are not paying for any contracted coverage. Let's see. I also want to address that I've heard that if we remove the sheriff's coverage from this budget, it means there's no path forward. That's not the case. It does mean, though, that we need time to negotiate, talk to the sheriff's department, see if they're willing to work with Gray. Maybe Gray, New Gloucester, and Raymond will work together to get us some more favorable rates. But that happens. Let's be honest about it. There is a level of service difference. If we do something, it will increase taxes. We've had residents that are consistently asking us to cut the budget, and we've heard that. And we've worked on that. We've taken that seriously. Some of the same voices are asking for more services to be cut. I don't see where they're going to be able to come from. We need to pass a reasonable budget, and if we keep having these increases, there's nowhere else to cut but to cut employees and other type services. Honestly, if you're not happy with the direction, you still have the opportunity to step up. You can pull papers. We accept them until Friday at noontime, and we would love you to run for council. We've been listening to what you guys have been asking us, and we welcome the input. But if you feel this strongly, then I suggest you pull papers and you start running for council and helping us out. We can't just lower the taxes on demand. Our responsibility is to the whole town, and we need to be reasonable and fair to everybody and find a sustainable path forward. And I hope that answered everyone that sent me an email. There are about 20 people altogether, mostly for keeping the sheriff's service, a few for cutting it all together. And that's all I had. So I will move to Ann.
Okay, let's see. For under council correspondence and activities reports, and I do hope that we're going to be talking about the sheriff's contract in more detail later, and that's not the only opportunity.
Yeah, this is council communications, so
right.
let's respond to the answers.
Okay, yeah, I also got, the council as a whole was emailed. There were, I don't know, I lost count. I think there were around 20 or so, only one in favor of severing the contract, and I understand that the Facebook chatter was largely negative as well. Just in terms of my activities, the Open Space Committee met last month. Former Council Chair Krista Chappell came to the committee to talk about her work with Maine Farmland Trust and ways to protect farmland from development. The committee identified a number of farmers to reach out to. Open space members are eager for the town to adopt new zoning districts, as it will clarify the boundaries of growth areas and areas to be protected. And then the Resiliency Committee met, and we reviewed the draft of the presentation for the council on the Surface Water Protection Ordinance, and the members decided to wait until May 5th to present that at a council workshop. Resiliency Chair Sandy Carter and I have been looking into grant opportunities that could help offset the town's costs on culvert design and construction. And so we've had several meetings on that. we're working with we're also talking with the Cumberland County Soil and Water Conservation District to discuss a grant to follow up on some of the action items on the watershed management plan, the action items recommended by the plan, targeting especially Pleasant River and Thayer Brook. Sandy coordinated the submission of the Community Resilience Partnership Renewal Form, which enables the town of Gray to seek additional grant funding through that source. So thanks to Sandy for all that extra work. Other activities, I watched a webinar put on by the State Community Resilience Partnership on the upcoming Community Action Grant Round to learn about that opportunity. I also participated in the Sustainability Roundtable put on by Greater Portland Council of Governments, and that's where I learned about the grant opportunities for culverts. Sandy and I met with Tim Estes and other staff to discuss culvert replacement. I met with Kristen Muzinski regarding the zoning changes and Lauren Aslin regarding the Village Transformation Project. I keep nudging MDOT regarding the memorandum of understanding we need to sign with them for the Village Transformation Project. We still don't have it. I don't know, Lauren could maybe give us an update, but she's met with their planning team and they say that they'll send it to her. Let's see, I've contacted Lacey Antonson regarding her decision to bar some community groups from the Blueberry Fest. We're hoping to change that. I guess I want to just touch again on the correspondence that we got on the sheriff's contract. And I think what people are particularly angry about is the lack of transparency in this decision, that it only came up last Tuesday. There were council members who didn't even know that it was going to be discussed. And then the decision was kind of rammed through. I just think that's not the right way to run a railroad here. And people deserve a chance. It's one thing to trim budget lines here and there, but it's another thing to just whack a whole bunch of services all in one go without having any conversation with the town, especially, as many people pointed out, we voted, the majority of voters in last June's election voted to add a third deputy. So it just feels like completely ignoring the wishes of the voters, and to do so without any public discussion or transparency is just, it's unthinkable and irresponsible, I think. The last point I'll make is just, I guess I'll stop there.
Cardi?
So I, of course, received emails as well as the rest of the town council in regard to a lot of folks that are not in favor of cutting the extra Sheriff's Department services, and then some in favor. I was unable to attend the Blueberry Festival Committee. They met on March 10th. They discussed the Friday evening hours to be between 5 to 8 p.m. for this first year of the festival's expanded hours to celebrate the festival's 10th anniversary. They've discussed adding activities such as lawn activities and looking into the option if those activities could be overseen by local G&G high school students. Lacey Antonson asked the committee to think about the overall purpose of the festival to help filter new booth inquiries, further asked the committee about how they can better define the level of craft products allowed to be part of the festival, discussed further ideas such as t-shirt sales and the 2026 revenue, as well as sponsor packets. The committee agreed to meet on April 14th at 6:30 p.m. The Dry Mills Schoolhouse Committee met on March 30th, 2026. I was unable to attend and have yet to receive the meeting minutes, but it should be noted that the land lease is up for renewal, and Sandy Carter has taken the steps to initiate getting the ball rolling on that renewal with the state of Maine. And that is all that I have.
All right, thank you. Councilor Farrington.
Well, I had the Ad-Hoc committee meeting. Bonnie and Dawn and myself, all we did was just review Brian's presentation that he's going to deliver today. The ZBA had a workshop, which I didn't attend, and they were going to look over how the LD 1829 is going to affect them. So the Finance Committee was canceled, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, first, I'd like to say thank you for everybody that's coming, whether you have something positive to say or negative to say. I think it's great. It's your town, so I love to see people here, and we're always open to hearing things. And again, I want to say to all the managers back there for the departments, thank you for your help with the budget. I really appreciate it. Also appreciate people from the Sheriff's Department coming here. Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate your service. It's just a matter of us discussing affordability. And one thing I would like to say is, when you look at the council, you would think that everybody does the same amount of work. Everybody puts the same amount of effort into going through the budget. And I want you to know that that's not the case. Some people are more involved and want to hear about things and want to interject and talk about things. Other people really just care about maybe the committees that they're on. Some people, I can tell you, probably haven't even looked at the numbers and haven't even gone through the numbers, haven't met with the people in the town. So when you hear different people talking about things, sometimes you can tell by their lack of knowledge or lack of in-depthness on a topic that they're really not putting the effort in that some of us other people have put in. So when we talk about it and we look about it, we're really trying to see where we can add things, where we can take things away, and then where we can look things for the future. And as far as meetings, we've got the planning board Thursday night. That's the only thing we have coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from our interim town manager. Thank you.
Hi, I'm currently getting up to speed and familiarizing myself with the town's ongoing projects. And I want to thank the department heads. Their support has led us to have the budget numbers and warrant articles finalized. This council meeting is the first one to include quarterly department head reports as opposed to the previous monthly reports. The new format provides a broader view of each department and now includes ongoing projects and strategic planning. We're moving into spring, and the weight restriction signs will come down this Thursday, April 9th. Nomination papers for the upcoming town elections are due by noon this Friday, the 10th, for 2 seats on the town council, 2 positions on the MSAD number 15 board of directors, and 1 water district trustee position. Preparations are underway for the volunteer awards banquet being held on Tuesday, May 12th, as well as the 4th annual Gray Community Day being held on Sunday, May 17th. And finally, I just want to recognize and thank the town staff for their continued hard work and dedication to the town. They really give their all to making sure that everything runs smoothly, and it's appreciated.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to start with our first presentation from the Transfer Station Ad-Hoc Committee. I think, Barney, are you doing that? All right, thank you.
Oh, no, you don't have to. Okay. Okay, got it. Hey, good evening. So I'm Barney Boynton, and I am the chair of the Ad Hoc Committee for the Transfer Station. Thanks for having us tonight. What I'd like to do is we wanted to present to the Town Council a number of our findings and recommendations from the Ad Hoc Committee. Before we get started, I want to have some good news. When we started this council, I got this unsolicited text from a friend of mine, and it says, just get back from the dump. He even put parentheses transfer station. It's the cleanest and most organized I've seen in 30 years. So what the transfer station staff is doing is getting recognized by folks. So a little bit of good news that we appreciate their efforts, and we just want to make sure that they got recognized. So tonight's agenda, we really want to talk about the Ad Hoc Committee, the members, and our project scope. We were going to talk about the results of the public pulse survey that we did. The most important part, we're going to talk about the recommendations to the Town Council, open it up for some Q&A, and then if everything goes well, we really want to request to close the Ad Hoc Committee. So the Ad Hoc Committee members, we have Don Davidson, Ken Farrington, Ari Porter is our committee secretary, unable to make it tonight. And of course, I'm Barney Boynton, the committee chair. John Powers is the transfer station staff liaison. Huge help in getting us the information that we needed. And really our overall goal and scope was to look for opportunities to say, how do we fix things today? How do we make it better? And what does the future look like? So I wanted to spend a couple of minutes and talk about our Public Pulse Survey. We published this on the town website on February 27th. All the committee members came in. We had some ideas of where we wanted to take the ad hoc committee, but we thought it'd be very important to ask the town and see what they thought. So we generated a Microsoft Forms anonymous survey. It was public through the links off the website, as well as we had QR codes, so if you went to the transfer station, you could click it with your phone. We ran it for 3 weeks. We were actually really thrilled that we had 602 responses. We do a lot of surveys at my business, and we usually don't get that level of participation. So, got kind of overall themes. People, we asked 18 questions, and things were about, where do you see the future? What does single sort mean to you versus what is we're traditionally recycling today? And then we got to question 18. This is always my favorite question when we do these surveys, is open text. The world is yours. And we had 277 open text answers where people just provided their comments. So with that, we kind of took all those 277 responses, and we had Trav AI fix this a little bit. But we came up with 4 big buckets, and this is what on people's minds. Really, redesign and flow of bottlenecks. That was kind of the number one concern of what is going on, how do we control traffic going in and out of the transfer station? What does the recycling model look like going forward? As a big part of what we were tasked with is, what does this single sort opportunity look like versus what we're doing for today in recycling? Staffing, people appreciate the staff there. They find them very helpful, but also would like to see them engage a little bit more as part of getting traffic to flow better. Kind of limit, we're a small town. We love the small town feel. We love conversations at the transfer station, but we have to get traffic flowing through there. We call it the swap shop or the take it, leave it. People want to see maybe some rules around that. And then finally, kind of that 5th bucket is permit enforcement and the ability when you're paying to have some cashless options. When we're going to talk about bulky waste items and what that looks like. So that was question 18. What we're going to do from questions 1 through 17, like I said, these were publicly posted. You can see the entire survey, but we've weaved these in to really the recommendations for the town council. So where we're going to go next is we came up with 8 recommendations we'd like for your consideration. And we're going to start with the first one, and this is the one that's probably on everyone's mind, is where does the ad hoc committee feel we want to go with single sort recycling versus what we're doing today? So this recommendation has 3 parts to it. Our overall recommendation is we want to keep what we're doing today and not do single stream recycling. So recommendation 1A, we looked at the financial piece of it. Overall, if we went to a single sort, single stream facility, just an operation alone, we'd probably incur an additional $80,000 in the annual budget. And I'll just kind of give you a quick rundown. I know that's hard to see on the screen, but how do we do the math? Well, we got to the math is there was some estimating going on because what we generate for recycling items of annual tonnage changes every year. We actually sell a lot of our scrap to open markets, and that's a commodity price. Those can swing wildly. So we kind of said best guess, overall we generate about 820 tons of recyclable scrap a year. And within that, we looked at the various market conditions, and you can see on the right-hand side, left-hand side, from mixed paper, cardboard, metal tin, these are the tin cans, plastics 1 through 7, and then we took the average market price. And those, again, it changes on a weekly basis, so we said this is our best guess. So overall, we generate about $77,000 of revenue annually. And then when we went from there, he said, okay, just for recycling, not transfer station overall, but just that recycling portion, how much overall does it cost? So we looked at things like staffing that runs the recycling center, permitting, trucking, so we backed those numbers out. So if you take what we generate in revenue and then back out expenses, transfer station, just the recycling section is running about a cost of about $20,000 per year. So the flip side is, so we go to single sort, single stream. My computer went to sleep. We back?
Not yet.
Not yet. Come on. That's a problem when you talk too much and don't hit buttons enough.
Here he comes.
Hey, here he comes to save the day. What happened, brother? Yep.
Oh, he canceled. Right there. And then share. And then wait. And then go back. You can just do that presentation right there.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this guy here. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll keep talking. So anyways, we were talking about overall expense. So we shift gears, there it is, and we go back to what it would cost to eco-main. So essentially, it costs a lot of money. Overall, it costs about $110 per ton. So what we're making in revenue today, we start paying them to take. And the second big part of that is trucking. So as much as we have our brokerage that we're generating revenue, a huge part would be our cost to be able to truck that down so it can be processed. So if you take that overall cost and then you back out of what we could potentially save by eliminating the folks that are doing the recycling work, permitting, and some commodities, overall net is it's going to cost really $101,000. So compare those things, it's kind of a no-brainer. So part one of this recommendation is keep what we're doing. Part two is, this is what folks want. This was the big part of the Pulse survey. 73% of the respondents said we want to keep what we're doing. Then the third leg of the stool, which Dawn kind of uncovered this, and it's a big deal, is that we're an eco-main member community. And we really enjoy the ability to sell our scrap to the market. We're grandfathered. We're the only town that's allowed to do that. So even if we said we want to go single sort, maybe we just want to try it out, we lose that. So once we switch, we never have the ability to go back and be able to generate our own revenue. So that's huge. So kind of 1, 2, and 3, that's our kind of our big recommendation. Trust me, the next ones move a lot faster. But there's always a big but with this. We, as much as we are a small community, we're a growing community. And what we would like the council to think about is as we continue to grow, our needs are going to grow from a capital expenditure standpoint. We'd like to have you thinking in the future of adding 2 additional horizontal balers. So balers are the machines that basically compact the scrap so we can sell it to market. Right now, transfer station staff have to kind of change over. We have the space, but if we brought in the additional equipment, the ability to add on and be able to process that scrap commodity faster. Second one would be in what we're considering an air burner. John Powers is looking into this, so if you've been to the transfer station, you see that mountain of wood. We pay folks to come in on a quarterly basis to come in and grind that for us. We'd like to see an ROI where if we were able to bring in an air burner, we could actually burn that in real time so we don't have giant piles, and ultimately may save us in the long run. So that's just kind of future consideration. Keep what we're doing now, but also have an eye on the future of the ability to kind of grow as the town grows. Recommendation 2, increase bulky waste fees. So what's a bulky waste? Those are mattresses, tires, Freon, those things that don't go into recycling and they don't go into the hopper. We really haven't adjusted the pricing of those materials in over 20 years. If you look at surrounding communities such as Raymond, Standish, Riverside, it's double and triple what we're changing today. What we're recommending is on the lower part of the screen is what I think is a very reasonable increase to those prices. What we want to do is we want to try to offset the overall cost of disposing those materials, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to increase illegal dumping. If we just stair-step that right now, we're going to see mattresses beside the road on snowmobile trails, and none of us want that. Last part, I think people do enjoy the punch card, which they get over on the right-hand side. So let's keep that. I would think if you're having a reasonable year, punch card is probably going to get you through the year of all those bulky things that you want to get rid of. So recommendation 3, this didn't land exactly where we wanted to. So we had a committee member who did not join the committee who was coming to the committee with some traffic flow expertise, and we didn't get that. So really our recommendation is we know there's bottlenecks, we know something needs to be done, but we'd like to make a recommendation to the council is to conduct a traffic study. We were throwing darts at a dartboard saying, maybe we should have a left-hand slip lane, maybe we should have a level middle slip lane. What if we run counterclockwise? It may all work, none of it might not work. So that's our recommendation is we need to take care of the bottleneck, but we just didn't have the expertise to be able to make a formal recommendation to you. The keep it, take it, leave it, swap shop, there was 2 questions in the survey. Overall, people are in favor of keeping it. They feel that it has a value to the community. For us, it takes scrap, which is weight that we don't have to pay to get rid of. So people are in the favor of keeping it. They're also in the favor of actually moving it. So if you know where it is today, it's kind of on that blind alley, which has more a security issue, but more of a safety issue of people crossing back and forth. So if we moved it closer to the compactor, keep an eye on it, really maybe enforce the ability to stop loitering, and hopefully curb any type of illegal dumping that people drop there versus putting it in the hopper. Recommendation 5, this was a big one in the survey, is really permit enforcement. I know the transfer station team has done just kind of some permit checks, and you'd be surprised of how many folks from out of town, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, folks from out of town coming in and using our facility. So every pound that comes in from another town, we pay for. So permit enforcement, very important. A subset of that is really folks coming in with contractor debris. Is a Gray resident doing, home improvement, or is it a contractor looking to offload stuff for cheap? Rec 6, and we had talked about this already. We don't want to get rid of cash payments, but the town folks would really like the ability to not have to use cash when they're buying a permit or paying for bulky waste. Recommendation is, what does that look like? Is it a wireless point of sale service? Can the town use Venmo? But overall, we'd like to make a recommendation to consider some sort of cashless payment in addition to being able to take cash. Committee members talked a lot about consider a closed system composting. So overall, if we went with a composting system, it's not going to save us a tremendous amount of money. The thought of if we take the weight of composting material and take it out of the waste stream, we'll save a lot of money. We won't. But the good news is when we did the survey, there is an overall interest by townspeople. So we would see this as a value add versus as a cost-saving measure. And if folks say, what's a closed system? Closed system it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not a giant pile of compost which can attract vermin. It's a system in which the composting materials is a sealed vessel, so you're not exposing it to, contamination and various types of vermin, rats. Recommendation 8, consider shifting weekday hours. Overall, the survey said we'd like to have additional hours, specifically, after work hours. You work a normal work day and you want to be able to go to the transfer station. We'd like to consider shifting that, not necessarily adding more that's going to add more staffing, more time. One of the big things that we ran into is saying we could shift that, but then we also realized that the transfer station's not set up to work after dark. So maybe a consideration to the council is, do we do a seasonal shift where we have more daylight hours and we probably have more activity from summer hours? So really, those are our 8 recommendations. Like I said, the first one, which was on a lot of people's minds, of where do we go of a single sort versus what we have now. And I think we gave you a pretty strong recommendation there. And just wanted to open up for any type of questions or discussion that the council has.
All right, thank you so much, Ann. I'll start with you.
I just want to, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who participated in this committee. I thought it was really helpful. Clearly, you guys brought a lot of expertise and knowledge that I certainly didn't have, and I appreciate these recommendations. I guess my question is almost more for the council. Like, how are we envisioning, discussing these recommendations? Will they come to us, back to us? Will we have a time, assigned at a next council meeting or upcoming council meeting to discuss these recommendations and decide how to go forward? I mean, clearly the budget items are not going to land in this budget, but so that's one of the questions I guess I do have is when you talked about those horizontal compactors. I mean, is you kind of, when do you see those being purchased, or is there a critical time frame within which you'd like to see that happen?
I think I would probably kind of defer to John. I mean, I think they're holding their own today, but we need to look at that as, that's not right now or tomorrow, but
Okay.
but it is a future consideration.
And those were additional compactors, am I right? Or replacing the existing ones that we have?
Additional.
That's what I thought. So, and so the other question, I guess, is what kind of shape are the existing ones in if they're holding their own?
So the committee looked at our population today, but our population is obviously growing very fast. And we're almost at max capacity with that one compactor. So we would add 2 additional compactors so that we'd have 3 compactors in total that could process cardboard, our plastics, and our mixed paper. And then we would do tin cans on a rotational basis with one of the other compactors. That way, patrons can just put their material right into the pit for that compactor, and it could be processed immediately, so we're only handling it once. But this is as the population grows, so it isn't something that we need yesterday, but it is something that we definitely will need here in the coming years.
That sounds good. And the traffic flow study, I'm disappointed that the person that we were hoping would help us with that didn't manage to make the meetings. But do you any sense of what the cost of something like that might be? No? Okay, that's not something you looked at. Okay.
It may be just as, we don't know what the plan or the study would bring to us, but it could be just a matter of line striping. And this would have to be in conjunction with the update of the horizontal compactors, because the horizontal compactors would be in the other building closer towards the salt shed. Mm-hmm. So if we were to change traffic, it would pile up in the opposite direction as it does now.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Ann?
I'm done.
Charity, thank you.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say thank you for taking the time to work on this. I greatly appreciate it, and I have seen a vast improvement. John, thank you. Appreciate it.
Vince, I'll let you go next.
Yeah, the place looks great. Any idea what one of those costs or 2 of those costs for roughly compactors?
One roughly installed 170,000.
About, all right, cool, about 170K. Cool. Yeah, the place looks great, and looking forward to getting you your new tractor.
Thank you.
And before, because Ken's been on the committee, I'll just ask my question. To both of these are good questions as far as cost goes. You know, what I'd love to see is that, you know, more of a timeline of like, okay, I think in 2 years I'll need this, in 5 years I'll need this. Because, you know, I don't like to have to come up with $170,000. I'd rather, okay, in 5 years we're going to need this, it's 150 grand, let's start putting away $30,000 a year. So, I mean, that would be very helpful to me. And I'm assuming, Ken, do you guys have something that you're going to put together to bring to us as far as, you know, what, you know, like what Ann asked at the beginning?
Well, I thought we were going to do it today, but it's going to be really busy, so we can put it off. But we want to close out first off, I want to thank Barney Boynton, Don Davison, Ariana Porter, and John. They did an amazing job. They did 99% of the work, and it was great to work with them, so thank you very much. So the recommendations, they want to close out the ad hoc committee. If you want to put it on the agenda for us to talk about next
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah,
that'll
we can
be
do that.
fine.
Yeah.
And we have, basically, I have a few things that I want to put into this also,
Okay.
so.
We can do that. Absolutely. And just to let you guys know, I just wanted to thank you guys. You guys have done an amazing job in such a short time frame. You know, and I think everybody in the town definitely appreciates that you guys have done. Ken, did you want to add anything else?
No, like I said, I think they did a great job, but there's a lot to talk about, and we have a busy agenda, so we'll do it.
All right, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you. All right, next up, we're going to hear from, is it Joyce? Sheriff Joyce? Sheriff Kerry Joyce, yes. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question. I'm sorry, are we, as audience members, are we able to ask questions as well of this, or are we more?
So no, he's just going to give a presentation. Oh.
I was talking about the ad hoc committee, the recycling committee.
Okay, so when if you have questions, you can email them to us. You can ask them when it's time for public comment, and we can get the answers and get them back to you. Okay? All right.
I thought this was time for public comment.
No, there is time for public comment. Okay, but right now, we're just having two presentations. All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
My name is Kerry Joyce. I'm the patrol captain for the Sheriff's Office. I oversee all patrol operations for the patrol division. I also am kind of the liaison for all the contracts in the contract towns that sounds like you might have talked to earlier this week, which is good. So I was here to maybe clarify some information that maybe is not quite what I understand it to be. I know the sheriff would like to be here, but he's out of town. But I did bring the chief deputy, Brian Pennell, to assist as well. So I threw a little presentation together, and basically I'm here to talk about the contract as it stands. As you know, we got into a contract back when Deb Cabana was the town manager, back around 2018. And, over the years, I think we've been adding one occasionally, with the most recent one added as recent as January last year. Obviously, we've had a few town managers since then, but I think it's been going pretty well. From my perspective, I haven't heard a lot of complaints, but obviously, I don't hear everything. So, you guys might be able to tell me something different. The first slide, please. So what I wanted to do is just kind of break down some of the numbers for you folks, because I think it's all about the numbers and information, which is where we make the best decisions. So I looked at we got the population for the town of Gray, and that was taken from the most recent census, which was 2024. That's what you guys are looking at, and I heard earlier in the population. You guys are growing, so pretty busy place here in the town of Gray, and I don't think the future looks big for you folks. So currently you have, as far as last year, 2025, you had 2 full-time contract deputies, and then you had the SRO deputy, which is the summer deputy that works 3 months. That deputy actually comes and works the road when he's not in school, and he covers the day shift for us in the summertime. Your calls for service last year were 5,490. The traffic stops conducted was 1,286 in the town of Gray. And your arrests, just the people arrested in the town of Gray itself, was 184. And as you can see, I compared it to some similar towns with similar populations. The difference is these folks have 12 police officers. Town of Buxton, calls for service was 13,825 in 2024. Their traffic stops was 2,166, and the arrest was 363. Amazing what you can do with extra staff. Town of Cumberland, population 8,832, also have 12 police officers. Calls for service 6,661, traffic stop 665, and arrest 24. You can see that Gray is a pretty busy area. Got a lot of busy roads here. The interstate gets off. You got Route 100, goes from Lewiston to Portland. Tannenberg Trail, 202, 115, real busy. So what I did here in this next slide, please. So this next slide, I tried to break down because you know, I'd been fielding questions too as well in the last week or so. So I tried to break down what your contract deputies were doing. So the 2 contract deputies last year worked a Wednesday through Saturday schedule. That's decided by the stats, the statistics. Usually I've worked that out with the town managers, and what we've deemed is Wednesday through Saturday, whether it's the day shift or the evening shift, is the busiest shifts. And so that's the reason why we put those 2 40-hour deputies on those days. So last year, calls for service, as you can see, were 807 on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, and that's what your contract deputy covered. Thursdays, 796, Friday, calls for service 908, and Saturdays, 726. The summer contract deputy that works 3 months when he's not in the school, he handled 84 calls last year. On a Sunday, on Mondays, 102 calls, and on Tuesdays, 101. He also worked Wednesdays, so he helped out a little bit with that 807 calls that happened on Wednesday. Next page, next slide, please. Like I said, total calls last year, 5,490. The Gray contract deputies themselves handled 3,524 of those calls. The general revenue deputies, which is the deputy that is assigned to this area, because when we look at the general revenue deputies, minimum staffing is, I have 2 general revenue deputies that work over towards Raymond, Casco, Naples, Baldwin, and Sebago, and I have 1 that covers Gray, New Gloucester, and Pennell and Yarmouth, North Yarmouth rather. And then on top of that, I have a sergeant. So that's what you get for the general revenue. So based on that, 3,524, your contract deputies, they're busy. They're doing some work. The general revenue deputy is also helping out there. And out of all those calls in the town of Gray, 196 of those were assigned to the criminal investigation division. That's something that, you know, we do charge you for a person, for a deputy patrol, but that's an asset you get because we look at the economies of scale. Yep, you're paying for 1 deputy, you're paying for 2. This year you're paying for 3 up till June 30th. But you get the other stuff. You get the SWAT team, you get the dive team, you get the canine teams. All that stuff comes in on that economies of scales because that's the service we provide. I just want to take a look at some of the calls that really had increased in the last year, looking at 2024 and 2025. You know, property damage crashes. You got a lot of traffic here. Those crashes, they increased 36 in the last year. I can tell you the general areas, I bet you guys know the general areas where there's always a crash. They're going to tie up traffic. They're going to tie up traffic for you. So in 2024, you had 215 of those, and in 2025, you had 251. Controlled substance, there's an increase there. We went from 17 calls to 40 calls. A lot of those cases, they're drug cases. That's where people are, probably getting apprehended with drugs, whether in a vehicle, at a residence, in a public place. That's an increase. Those cases, that's substantial. Traffic violations, I already said, it's an increase of 153 from last year. Hey, everywhere in Cumberland County, I get the #1 complaint is speeding. I get it all the time. We try to do the best we can, but you can't be everywhere. So, we do a good job of that. And, in 2024, we stopped 1,133, but this year we stopped 1,286. So we're trying to put a dent in that. The mental health actually decreased this year, which is good, because the town of Gray has quite a few group homes. We actually went down like 62. Last year it was 173 mental health calls, and this year there's 111. These calls, they're difficult calls. They're complicated calls. They're the type of call that you're not going to just go there and clear in a few minutes. You're there for a long time. So some of the aspect that's helped us with that is, #1, we've worked with some of the group home managers to explain the circumstances and try to get some assistance from them. But also, we've been able to work with Opportunity Alliance out of Portland, and we got a mental health liaison. So some of these people that we're dealing with that have mental health issues, we're able to pass that on to this liaison who can follow up with them and try to alleviate that. Because some of these issues aren't police problems. They're just mental health problems, and there's nothing we can do about it. Next slide, please. Deputies assist outside of Gray. Yes. Yeah, the Gray deputy does assist outside of Gray occasionally. There's just not enough cops. There's just not. Some of these calls we deal with are multiple, you need multiple officers to deal with them. So I pulled some of the numbers from last year. For instance, they assisted in New Gloucester 195 times. But that doesn't mean they drove to New Gloucester. What happens is sometimes you get an ATL or attempt to locate that comes down, maybe driving down from the casino. That call comes in, they're saying, yeah, they're leaving Poland and they're coming in New Gloucester. That call goes in as a New Gloucester call, but that District 1 unit, that other general revenue unit's nowhere in the area. So that Gray unit ends up getting tagged with that call. So yes, that is an outside Gray call. That is an assist, and that does happen a lot of times. And so some of those stats are awful hard to really analyze, without a lot of time. But occasionally the Gray deputy is going, because there's a big call, there's a heavy call, a serious accident. That happens. That's going to happen, and it'll probably continue to happen. Deputies from Gray have assisted North Yarmouth 53 times. Like I said, once again, could be an attempt to locate. It's in the North Yarmouth area. There's no one in the area. That car's coming this way. That Gray deputy is going to intercept it or try to intercept it. Same with Pennell. So that happened last year 272 times. I also listed other departments here. I don't have the state police because I don't have their numbers, but state police assist over here as well. Just like we assist them. Occasionally we'll go out on the pike because they got to take down a traffic stop or they get a serious crash. That's not unusual. When you're in law enforcement, you got to have these mutual aid kind of agreements because there's just not enough people. And it's similar to the fire service. Sometimes you need another fire truck. Sometimes you need another rescue. So Wyndham PD assisted just calls in Gray 113 times last year. Cumberland PD 98 times. Once again, it could be that it's a car that was reported erratic in Gray, and it's heading towards Wyndham. So these analyses are hard to actually, track down. But yeah, they do come over occasionally. If there's a hot call over here, they're coming over, just like we go over that way. And that happened 211 times last year. So, yes, this year, we submitted a proposal for 3 deputies. I worked for finance to do that. Now, I heard early in the night, the figure is $694,000. So I'm not sure where that number comes from, because the proposal I get from finance that I send to the town manager is actually $482,000. Oh, next slide, please. Sorry about that. You're doing good up there. I appreciate it. Yeah, for 3 deputies for next year, the cost is $482,240. That's what I got. And then for that summer SRO that comes works the street, I spoke to the superintendent's office today, and based on what they're telling me, the town owes $49,000. So if you add those 2 together, the total cost I get for law enforcement for the town of Gray is $531,372. So it's a bit different from the $694,000 that I hear, but that's what I get for a figure. And
Can I ask a question? Can our finance director come up and explain why that we have 694?
Well, let him finish.
Okay, well, I didn't know, because
no, that's all right.
maybe we can find the
That's all right.
difference out. I
That's
didn't,
all
you
right.
know.
No, I appreciate that. That's all I'm saying. I'm just telling you the numbers I get. And then, so then when I do break down that number, when I break that 482 down for 3 deputies, that's about $160,666 for Gray, a deputy. And then based on the information which you were correct about Standish, they're paying about $176,796 a deputy. So, but they're also buying a car, so that's the difference. And I want to just explain that a little bit. Harpswell, as you stated, is $666, which is about $175,000 a deputy when you back the car out. But one thing you have to remember is law enforcement is unionized. And so with the union, you get seniority. With seniority, you get wages. So the longer you've been here, the more wages you get. So the higher pay you're going to get, the better shift you're going to get. And fortunately enough, you folks at Gray, you got some people that are younger people, so you're not paying as much. But that's the reason why it's different between people costs. Obviously we know that's a lot of money, but everything's gone up. It's a competitive world out there. It's a dog-eat-dog world. We've got openings now. We can't hire people even at a good wage, and it's, we're stealing from Cumberland, we're stealing from Portland, state police is stealing from us. That's the bucket we're in right now. So with that wage, yes, 482, it's about $160,000 a cop with benefits and wages. So, and then the only thing I wanted, next slide, please. I just wanted to talk about public safety plan, because you guys, you got a big town here. You got a lot of people, you got a lot of traffic, and you got a lot of social stuff going on here. And it's not going to go away. And I can honestly tell you, yep, there will be 1 deputy around here, but you're going to share it with 4 towns. And when someone's busy somewhere else, they can't leave. So you're going to get another deputy coming from somewhere. And that could be Baldwin. That could be Harpswell. We're going to be here, but people are going to have to wait, And so I just want you guys to understand that public safety planning, it can't be based on hope to answer any emergency calls. I hope one Cumberland County deputy is not busy coming from Baldwin. I hope Cumberland Police Department can send a unit. I hope Wyndham Police Department can send a unit. I hope the state police can send a unit, because if you got 1 unit over here, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. So, and that's the end of my presentation. If people want to ask questions, if you want to find out from your finance guy, because I'd be interested.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out why the difference that we're getting proposed is 694 versus the number he just proposed.
Does anyone have any questions of me while I'm here?
Yeah, so Ann, do you have questions?
I think you've answered a lot of them. So if we're essentially sharing, is it 1 deputy per shift in essence with the other
basically, that's
town?
what you get. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and then, like you said, hope that
Yeah.
some other town or the state police can send us a deputy, or the others, deputies assigned elsewhere in the county can show up. And how frequently do the cruisers get replaced?
Yeah, so by contract, it's every 4 years or 120,000 miles.
Okay.
Whatever comes first, it's an or.
Okay, and because I think we had to.
And that's the same with our general revenue. These are first responder vehicles. People are going a long distance in them. You gotta have good stuff. You can't, roll the dice on stuff like that. So that's what we found. It's worked.
And at the end of the contract, when it's, it's 4-year life for
Yeah.
120 grand, or 120,000 miles. So we own the vehicle at that point, and then we can do whatever we want with it?
Yeah, we've returned some vehicles recently, I believe. I'm not sure where they ended up. I know sometimes the fire service grabs them. I'm not sure where they ended up, but usually they're in okay shape, they're great for, if you had an assessor or a code enforcement person, but you really wouldn't want to be using them to go high speeds.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for me for right now anyway. Thanks.
You got it.
Justine, you wanna? Yeah,
Oh.
you're standing.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
come on up.
I'm in your way.
So this information is in your budget book. But we had originally proposed $20,000 for vehicle fuel. And then we had $25,000 for details. $49,131.73 for the shared SRO. I've unfortunately had to remove my itemization for the other contract, but that was the $400,000 figure we were just talking about. And then the $118,500 we have that listed as vehicle replacement.
Okay, so the 694 is correct, but we're including gas and
Details and yeah,
details, and those numbers don't include details, the numbers you gave earlier? Like the other towns, they don't include that?
That's for 40 hours right there.
Okay, that doesn't give all the costs, it just gives the cost just for
Obviously,
you.
if you want to hire a deputy at detail cost, that's an extra payment.
Okay,
That's with all the contracts. The schools hire an extra deputy at sporting events, that's an extra cost to the school, so that's
Okay.
not included in the SRO.
okay. And do we get reimbursed at all for the mileage that when, like, I know in some officers work a lot of overtime in
Yep.
other communities. Do we get reimbursed mileage
No,
for
there's no
all the wear and tear?
reimbursement. It really all works out in the wash in the big scheme of things. Because, when one of your deputies who is backfilled over here is on vacation or out on sick leave or whatever could happen, another deputy will come, sometimes from Standish, sometimes from Harpswell, sometimes from Harrison, and they're using their car as well. And they're spinning the tires over here. And that's not something that we do. There's no reimbursement. It really all works out in the wash in the big scheme of things, so.
Do you have any questions? Vince?
Yeah, can you just, because I've heard where Cumberland County as a whole went up several $1 million, can you just explain the dynamics of why that happened and what you did do with the government, just so I can understand it a little bit better from you folks?
That's why I brought the chief.
Yeah, thank you. Just so I can, I'd like to hear it from you folks so I can better understand. Thank you.
I can try and answer your question.
That's the.
My name is Brian Peller, I'm the chief deputy. So I'm sorry, what was the
I'm just
question?
trying, so obviously the Cumberland County as a whole went up quite a bit for us this year. And I'm just trying to get an idea of how that worked out with the federal or ICE or whatever that whole thing. I'm just trying to get my arms around.
Well, certainly it was a complex year.
Exactly, and I'm trying to get my arms
Anyone
around
in the
it.
county who had watched any of the commissioners' meetings saw kind of the activity that had gone on and the volume of people who came in and spoke. And ultimately, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office for the last 33 years has housed federal inmates at the Cumberland County Jail. And those federal inmates fall under two categories: Department of Justice arrestees through the U.S. Marshal Service. Those are folks that are arrested on criminal charges that are facing trials in Portland at the federal court. And the other were ICE inmates, people who were detained or arrested by ICE and held at our facility because there is no federal lockup in the entire state of Maine. So that they rely on using local jails. And In that 33 years, the numbers got very skinny during COVID just because it was really kind of a catastrophic environment in a jail to house people close together in COVID. So the numbers did fall off from federal revenue. But afterwards, another contract was negotiated with the county, Jim Gailey, the county manager, to have a set rate. And we receive $150 or $155 a day for federal inmates. So the contract is with the Marshal Service, but the Immigration Service piggybacked on that contract. So daily census for us with U.S. Marshal inmates and ICE inmates usually hovered around 100. So if you do the math, $150 a day times 100, it was a pretty significant amount of money, and over the course of a year it was about $3 million. And when the Cumberland County Jail was built at its current location back in 1993, that was considered part of the funding foundation for the jail. So in the current environment, there was less of a political appetite to continue housing ICE inmates at the jail. There continues to be. And we are not housing ICE inmates at the jail right now. So from my involvement in the county commissioners meetings, without that revenue, the county put forward a budget this year, not including any federal revenue. So not counting any of the U.S. Marshal inmates that we still have. We still have about, it ranges between 42 to 45 of those arrestees daily that we house in the jail. And that was a decision through county government to move forward. So that's a pretty significant amount of money that the taxpayers of Cumberland County have to come up with. It's about a $3 million amount roughly, give or take $100,000 on each direction of that. So that is a big significant increase. I think the county budget this year was just under 13% for an increase on the back of a year that was about a 7% increase. So it's back to back, very significant increases, and that's not lost on us. And that's, you know, one of the things that we're struggling with is we're a starving agency now trying to provide services. As the town of Gray is growing significantly, every town in Cumberland County is growing significantly. And there are certain towns that fare differently throughout the seasons. So I think inland communities in Cumberland County swell quite a bit in the summertime. So our Cascos, Raymonds, Harrisons, to a lesser extent, Raymond really swell significantly in the summertime. And Gray is more of a year-round population. Certainly there's some summer residential homes here in the water and things like that, but for the most part it doesn't fluctuate as much because it's not on Sebago Lake and that sort of thing. So really what we're facing the backlash of at the sheriff's office and the other county departments, because your county taxes pay for more than just the sheriff's department. They pay for the jail, which is the sheriff's department. They pay for some county patrol, which we refer to as general revenue deputies, but there's only so many. And the number of general revenues deputies have not changed in a number of years, a long time. It also pays for the district attorney's office, it pays for probate court, it pays for the assessor's office, it pays for all the entities that county government, some of which is required to do in statute. So we have those obligations to do. The largest part of the sheriff's office budget is the jail. We run the largest mental health facility in the state. Our jail has an ability to hold about 580 inmates. Currently, our numbers as of today are about 320. Prior with the ICE inmates, it was hovering around 400. You know, being a corrections officer is a really tough job. The pay's decent, the benefits are good, but it's one of those jobs that we don't have a lot of 10-year-olds running around saying, when I grow up, I want to be a corrections officer. So it's a tough line of work. And a lot of the people that we have are good, they're dedicated, but it's got a high burnout rate, high turnover, and it's really been a struggle for us in this job market and of course post-COVID and things like that. But the jail, being what it is, I would say better than 80% of the people in the jail are suffering from either some level of mental illness, some level of substance use disorder, and most are suffering from both. And unfortunately, that's a consequence of other levels of government in our state not meeting their obligations to help those folks. So we become the filter, we become kind of that strainer in the bottom that ends up really in this situation. We've got a great contractor that works with us for mental health. We have some people come in, people are a lot sicker today. When Portland PD arrests someone who's living on the street, is violent, acting out in a mental health episode, that person hasn't been to a medical doctor in years. That person could have open wounds, infections, bad teeth, you name it. And it's very expensive for the Cumberland County Jail to handle that. And our medical budget is north of $4 million a year just for that. So that's, again, that's kind of a consequence that everyone in this room is paying for because we just don't have that. So as you know, a majority of the sheriff's office budget is the jail, and that's in the low $20 million range for the operation of that. And you know, just with the number of inmates that we have, and we try to collaborate with other jails, but it's a constant shell game of moving people around. And if you have folks that can't behave in this venue, we might move them to another facility, and this constant horse trading and that sort of thing. So again, because of COVID, we're still feeling the residual effects of that. Most of the inmates in the jail are pre-sentenced. And because they're pre-sentenced, they're not sentenced, and when they are sentenced, they have the ability to go to some work release programs and things like that, but we just don't have the population yet to do that because the courts are backed up. So it's really a litany of excuses that I stand before you tonight, but you know, financial hits, that's a significant impact, and that is significantly affecting our contracts throughout the county. And the captain and I have spent most of the week where the sheriff's been out meeting with different towns and trying to explain some of the tough questions that have to be asked. And you know, when I first started in policing over 30 years ago, the question was, do we get the $15,000 cruiser or the $17,000 cruiser? The cruiser today is about $60,000, and it's another $20,000 to equip it with all the radio equipment, the GPS, the technology that goes with it. It's like buying a small fire truck. And you know, as the captain said, they have a lifespan. The cars that we drive have been through 2 or 3 life cycles so far, and they rattle, but they're not first responder cars that we drive. And you know, to keep that emergency level up, that's really the importance of the rotation, because once they leave patrol, they either go to the communities that we have partnerships with, or they go to a detective, or they go to an administrator, or they become a car for the jail to use for people going to training and things like that. So those cars have 3 or 4 lives. We don't sell cars like the state police do. You see people driving around, because when they leave our custody or our property, they're heaps. They're scrap metal by the time we get rid of them. So I hope that was a really long, or at least answered your question on some of the
Absolutely,
headwinds
no,
we're facing.
I appreciate that. No, that was
Ken, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a few actually. So I didn't know about this cut, and I'm in favor of the deputies in town, but I'm not in favor of the contract at all. So our $116,000 Tahoe that is Deputy Reese has, where is it? I haven't seen it in a month and a half in town.
116. He's been out most of the winter. He got injured.
How'd he get injured?
He got injured off duty.
Off duty.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
But it's not $116,000.
I think it's in the line. Well, anyways, we'll talk about that later. So.
I'd buy the car. It's like it's 80 grand is what we paid.
Okay.
So
$80,000
car plus the it's
so
a lot of money, but
they're assigned to the deputy.
that's right.
So it's sitting in his driveway right now.
That's correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
So who's replacing him for our 40 hours a week?
There was just anyone else that wanted to work the overtime would do it.
Okay, so if Deputy Reese wants to work 60 hours overtime, he's taking our brand new cruiser and he's covering other towns with it and putting miles on it and wearing it out. And you just said when the vehicles are done, they're heaps. So instead of breaking this down the way you're doing it, where we have to buy the cruisers and the guns and everything, and we're paying Social Security on the deputies, workman's comp, retirement, health insurance, we just want to pay for coverage. Yeah. So we want you to buy all that stuff and basically just charge us for coverage.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. All those things you mentioned, you know, I don't have them sitting in my closet. You know, when you want to hire a deputy, right? It's a brand new deputy. We have to equip that deputy. So that means we got to go out and buy the guns and the tasers and the cameras and all that good stuff that goes to equip the deputy. So I don't have that stuff sitting in a closet somewhere. It's not stuff that
I know, but
that I have.
The town is paying for all.
That's right. Yeah, that
But
is what you are.
What do we need with that stuff? You guys should be providing all that, giving us a flat rate. It's right now we're paying $10,000 a week to have 3 deputies in the town.
Yep.
So we don't want, at least I don't think we do. Do we want a beat up cruiser when they're all said and done? So I would rather just see you take a cruiser and a deputy, give us a flat rate of how much it's gonna cost us, then you keep the cruiser when it's all said and done.
I've mentioned that to the finance people,
Okay.
and they like the idea,
Okay,
but they haven't done anything with it. So I can't do anything with it. You understand what I'm saying?
okay,
You
I know, but I'm just saying, moving forward.
And I'm just gonna get back to, I'm just gonna get back to the person too. I mean, when you got personal costs, someone's gonna pay for the insurance, someone's gonna pay for the social security, someone's gonna pay for the retirement. That someone, that cost gets put on the town, because that's your deputy. You see what I'm saying?
I understand, but so if we have 3 deputies and Deputy Reese gets hurt, we just need another deputy.
And that's exactly what you get. You get another deputy.
Are we getting a 40-hour-a-week deputy?
Oh, yes, you are. Yeah,
Okay.
but the problem is you're getting them, they're working overtime, see? So they may say, well, if they work standards for 4 days, they're 40 hours, and I'm gonna take 10 hours over in Gray, then someone else, 10 hours in Gray, then someone else, 10 hours. So we're always backfilling that shift. You got 2 shifts, we backfill those shifts.
Okay, so all those calls that you're saying that you guys are doing in the town of Gray, did you break that down from day and night? Because the
Yes.
night guys are doing all calls also.
The night guys,
we're not paying for
guys
night
are doing a lot of calls, yes. I mean,
Right.
what I did is I broke it right down to 06:30, right through the 2 o'clock when the deputy goes in over
Okay,
here.
I didn't see that on the chart there. So how many deputies are floating around at night that we have right now?
When, all
Like
depends.
after, when our other ones are gone?
Oh, after that, so
Yeah.
you get one supervisor, Standish pays for a deputy, and then you could get 2 other deputies. But minimum staffing is 3. So realistically, you could have a sergeant and a general revenue deputy, and then the Standish deputy. So
And
it'd
we're
be
not
3.
paying for that?
You're not
correct?
paying for that.
Okay, so if we put a substation in Gray, like New Gloucester has a substation, they have a deputy that hangs out at Public Works almost all day because it's a substation. So if we put in a substation, could we have something like that, like New Gloucester does?
Well, as far as a deputy hanging out at the substation all day, I don't believe that's true. But and if that's the case, love to hear about it. I mean, once again, because
No, I'm just
if-
saying, when he's not doing a call, he's at the substation because,
He could be making telephone calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
He could be
That's what
washing his
that's
car.
what I'm saying,
He
but
could be interviewing a victim.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of things you could do.
I know, but if he's in New Gloucester at
Yeah.
the substation, it's easy to him to respond to a call in New Gloucester.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
No
if
doubt.
we had a substation in Gray,
Well, part of the deal is, with your contract, it says that you're supposed to supply an office for the deputy. That's-
Right.
And with Mike, we couldn't find an office there, right?
Okay.
Okay. I talked to Denise. She was gonna work on it, but Denise is not here. And so,
Right.
but that is good. Yeah, that's the idea. If you give us an office, because every now and then you have to talk to someone in a private area.
Right.
You have to make some telephone calls. You gotta bring them somewhere. So that's beneficial. We used to use the old fire station down by the post office, right down on
Right.
the lower part, but that's since closed. So you're right, yes, then that is part of the contract, but we haven't got that room space yet. But
Okay.
if we do, love to have it, because that would be great.
okay?
I would add as well, too, that the Gray does have a substation, but that same deputy that could be in Gray is covering Pownell, North Yarmouth. So they might be in Gray to answer to a call, and maybe they gotta stop and use a restroom. They go
No, I
there.
know, but
So
where,
they're-
we have a substation, where is it?
In Gray?
Yeah.
We don't have one right now.
That's what
Yeah.
I meant. So we provide you with that, would that cut down on our budget and our contract costs?
No, it would not. It would not cut down on your cost. It would not cut down on your cost, no. There's no, that substation we have in New Gloucester, that's New Gloucester, we don't pay them to have that there.
Well, we wouldn't charge you that much. That's the only question I have.
I think the biggest frustration that I'm hearing is that, we've got the deputies that are close to New Gloucester, close to Raymond, and they don't pay for anybody. And we do. And, I think that's the biggest frustration is that, and it's not your fault that people in the town feel like we pay for, a lot on the school side, that we're paying for sheriffs, they don't have any. And it feels like everybody in Gray is just getting piled on. So what we'd love to do is we'd like to sit down with you guys in New Gloucester and Raymond and work out an opportunity where we work with you and split the cost. Because I think the Gray residents are tired of paying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I welcome that. I mean, you folks are all welcome to talk to other towns. I know North Yarmouth's talked about it. There's been conversation, but that same conversation comes from the people of Portland and South Portland. They feel like they pay for the deputy that comes out and patrols the town of Gray, which is that general, because the general revenue deputy doesn't swing over around the mall. So it all depends who you're talking to, right? And, you know, town of Cumberland, they pay for their own police department. They pay for that general revenue deputy. Yep, sometimes they go down and help them out, but, you know, most of the time, they cover in the towns that don't have a police department, so. Yes.
Can I just make a point too? I have a question. I guess we had one of our residents write in and note that Gray is one of only 4 towns in a population range of like, you know, 6,900 to 11,500 roughly. There's a whole bunch of towns that are in that range, and Gray is one of only 4 towns in that range that rely on state or municipal law enforcement instead of having a local police force. I mean, is it your sense that there's a trend towards towns, you know, creating their own local police forces, either on an individual town basis or you know, small regional footprint, like 2 or 3 towns?
You know, the trend is kind of going the other way, actually. I hate to say it, it's regionalization, right? Doing more with less, you know, and at a less cost. So that's really where it is. I mean, recently, I think you probably saw the news like I did, up on the coast, Camden, Rockport area, right? They're kicking the tire about possibly hiring a contract deputy for one of those towns. I'm not sure where it is, but these are towns that are pretty, you know, there's a lot of people that live in that they're pretty wealthy, and they're looking at that. You know, this happened about 25 years ago with the dispatch, right? Everyone had their own dispatch center, right? Now you're just paying one regional dispatch. Right. You know, that's the movement, is regionalization, you know. In the next 2 years, within the next 2 years, you know, we're gonna put a super substation over in Wyndham. Wyndham's reached out to the county and said, hey, we want you to move your whole patrol division up there. So we're gonna take over the whole floor. So rather than my office being Gray, in Portland, it's gonna be in Wyndham, which is kind of the central location. So these are the things that people are trying to, you know, work smarter, not harder type of things. You know, combine your money, things like that, so.
Thank you guys for coming tonight. We
No,
really appreciate it.
I know it's more than 20 minutes, I apologize.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, all right. Moving on. So next, we're going to move on to public comments, and I want to be very clear. The public comments are on non-agenda items. So if it's on the agenda, this is not the time to speak. All right. So citizens have the right and are encouraged to speak during public comment regarding items that are not on the agenda, or regarding an item at the time in which does appear on the agenda prior to the council beginning its deliberation. All comments and questions during public comment or on the agenda item will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Anyone in attendance in person or remotely who wishes to speak will have an opportunity to speak once. The chair may allow any person who has already addressed the council during public comment on an agenda item or during a public hearing to speak again, but only to clarify a point or share a new and previously unheard point of view. This is not intended as a time for debate. It's not a time for questions. If you do have a question, please ask it, and we will try to get it answered either tonight or get back to you. We will close the public comments as soon as no information is being presented. If you want to call in, you can call in at 469-708-0487. The meeting ID is 580-458-306 pound. So whoever would like to get up first, you're welcome to. Please get up.
Judy.
Oh, Judy, this young man over here. Yep, okay.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ryan Keith. I'm the owner of Northeast Solar Trackers, a company based in Brunswick that installs solar tracking arrays designed to follow the sun for increased performance and efficient land use. Solar trackers serve an important role for properties where traditional rooftop or ground-mounted systems are not viable. In many cases, they provide the only practical option for property owners seeking energy independence as electrical costs continue to rise. Monthly energy expenses can be significant, sometimes comparable to property taxes, especially for local businesses. There's a common misconception that solar installations negatively impact property values. In reality, the opposite is true. Homes and businesses equipped with solar energy systems often command higher resale values. Given the choice, most buyers prefer properties that generate their own power. As solar adoption grows, we increasingly encounter homes and businesses where conventional systems are not feasible due to roof orientation, shading, and space constraints. Solar trackers fill a gap by offering a practical, efficient alternative. Recently, we learned that the town of Gray has a 12-foot height restriction, effectively prohibiting the installation of solar trackers. This became evident when we previously approved permit for a system in Howell's gun shop was revoked. Howell's, along with Gray Village Hardware, both long-standing local businesses, are seeking ways to reduce their rising energy costs. Due to the building orientation and rooftop limitations, a tracker is the only viable solar solution for their properties. Over the past 3 years, Northeast Solar Trackers has successfully installed nearly 40 units in surrounding communities. Currently, Gray appears to be one of the only towns that in the area that restricts this type of installation. Additionally, I believe the current ordinance in place may conflict with Maine State Statute Title 33, Section 1423, which states that municipalities may not prohibit the installation or use of solar energy devices on residential properties. With reasonable restrictions related to health, safety, and building codes do permit some restrictions, the restrictions may not significantly impact the performance of the system. The 12-foot height limitation effectively prevents the use of a tracker and therefore may be considered overly restrictive. The timing of this ordinance is also concerning as federal solar incentives are being reduced. The change will increase the installation costs and limit opportunities for local residents and businesses to benefit from renewable energy solutions. I respectfully ask the town to consider the current height restriction to align with existing zoning standards for similar structures, as many of the neighboring towns have done already. Solar trackers are simply structures that enable greater energy independence and sustainability. Thanks for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Point of information, how much are you off by, height-wise?
Considering most towns utilize their structure because it's simply a structure, but the systems effectively to perform needs to be about 30 feet.
Okay, could you maybe send an email out to us? I'm sure Adam can help you out and get us some information, and we can
Yep.
pull it.
I've actually put together packets that I will leave. It's got all kinds of information in there with pictures and some other information that people can review and get in touch with me.
Fantastic. Appreciate that. Next, please.
Thank you. Judy Simino. I just wanted to give an update here about the cost-sharing committee. That approximately 700 people signed for the cost-sharing committee for Gray and New Gloucester School to change the way the formula is. We had done that in the summer and got done in the fall and put all that information together and submitted it, and it was all approved, but we have a process that we go through where committees were formed, and so the committees have been formed. Sam is on the committee, I'm on the committee, and there's like 8, I think, right, Sam? Something like 8 of us, or 6 or something. But the committee has been formed. The challenge has been is there is no facilitator approved on the list for the Department of Education. So that's held us back. So we're like months and months into this process with nothing happening. So We have sent out emails, and we've reached out to our representatives and asked them to please contact the DOE to get things moving a little faster for us. We were hoping to have this ready for the June budget ballot, but apparently that's probably not going to happen unless a miracle comes before us. And so we want to let you know that we are not going to give up on this. We are going to move forward. 700 people wanted this to happen. So I'm sure there are a lot more that didn't even sign for that. So the school budget is planning to increase by $2.7 million this year, which is an incredible amount of an increase. It's going to make a big difference in our tax dollars. So it would be nice if we could deflect some of that. So what we're doing is we're actually putting together a meeting, and the meeting is going to be on the 29th on a Wednesday night. And it's going to be at the Legion Hall at 6 o'clock, and we're going to have like pizza and soda or whatever. But at that, we've got the company, the Maine Taxpayer United is going to come, and they're the ones that actually spearhead this thing. And so they're going to come and talk with us about the process, where we're at, and what we can maybe do to help out and move this forward a little bit more. So we're looking for folks to please come to that. So again, it's on the 29th, which is the last Wednesday of April. Legion Hall. And I also have this form here. If you're not getting any Gray Matters updates on the cost sharing and you would like to, if you can just put your name and information on here, we'll add you to our list so you can be updated when any events come up, you know, what the process, the committee meetings and things like that, so you're more aware of what's going on. So I'll pass that around if anybody would like to put their information on there, just to stay informed. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jude.
Good evening, my name is Marcel Vachon, and I am a resident of Gray here on Main Street. I'm not sure if I'm speaking out of turn or not, so I'm going to ask this simple question. And because you mentioned, Mike, that there would be public comment and stuff afterwards, but then right prior to here, you said there's no public comment on agenda items.
Yeah, I'm just going to point of order. So when we get to the agenda item, yes. Okay. So this is for non-agenda items. It's on the, you know, the budget's on the agenda item.
Okay, so I need to come back later in this meeting and
That's
talk about it.
the way it's been designed. Yes, I didn't
That's
define
fine.
it.
No,
Sorry.
just want to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hendrikas Lulofs, Presidential Drive here in Gray. Not sure if you all can do something about this, but my concern is how the voting for the school budget is done. The initial vote is done on a ballot across the way here, and if it's a negative vote, we end up in the high school, which seems to be a stacked deck. To me, the way that the voting should be is, if it's a no vote, we go back to the original way of voting, and we carry that out until a decision is made. And I don't know what can be done about it. It seems like, initially I thought it was in our local town's jurisdiction, but I was told no, it's not. But whatever can be done, or whatever the citizens can do under advice to change this would be appreciated, because to me, this is not a legitimate way of holding a vote. You're just marching a group of people into a stacked deck. It's like the Red Sox going into Yankee Stadium and the Yankees telling us how we're going to pay our players. Maybe they should pay us more actually this year, but whatever. I'll leave it at that, but it is a concern, not just of mine. I've talked to many people in the town, and I haven't seen anybody bring it up, so I just want to convey that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? For once? Oh, how about Kyle? Anybody online? Non-agenda?
No one?
Okay. Ma'am, did you?
No.
No? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Then moving on. All right. So we're going to old business, unfinished business, tabled at the previous meeting. Order 2526-23, the subdivision ordinance. Motion to remove order 2526-23 subdivision ordinance to further review and discussion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And let's see. All right, so then we are going to let, is it Kristen? Yeah, okay, all right. Oh, my glasses. All right.
Last I checked. So, council, esteemed manager, I'll try to keep this under an hour.
Thank you.
the subdivision ordinance had come before you previously and also went to public hearing at the planning board, and we got some good feedback. I was also able to get feedback from some counselors and additional feedback from ordinance advisory folks, and we've made some changes since that time, and it's coming back to you for first read now. So I think all the updates to the revised version are on the first page of your memo, but I'm just going to hit on the highlights for brevity tonight of the kind of substantive changes. So one of the updates was to the language regarding cisterns. We had some language in there regarding engineering review, that there was concern about the additional expense and levels of that. And I did consult with the fire chief to do some amendments there. So the town's consulting engineer and the code officer can review the cisterns and the manufacturer warranties and have those be sufficient. One of the other big ones was disallowing driveways off of hammerheads at the end of the subdivision road. Our public works director, Tim, does want to retain the ability to allow those in certain circumstances, so we are just going to leave that language as is, that it's as his discretion. So typically, policy is that they are not typically allowed, but he would like to retain that ability to have that authority. So that language has changed. We've changed the open space committee input to may instead of shall to clarify that it is advisory only.
Kristen, can I
per
pause
Ann's
you
input?
for 1 second?
Yeah.
Because I did make a mistake. So first of all, we need to take a vote on that last one to remove that order. So is all in favor of removing that first one?
From the table.
From the table?
Oh, yeah, sorry. No.
Sorry, I just want to make sure we do this right. All in favor? All right, good. Sorry about that. Now I need a motion. I want to do this right, so I didn't get.
Understood.
So the motion, the town of Gray hereby ordains the town of Gray subdivision ordinance, chapter 401, shall be amended to align with LD 1829, public law, chapter 385, and the associated amendments for other legal compliance and clarity. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ken. First, Ann. All right, and so please go on. Sorry.
Okay. So probably the most substantive change per some council input and discussions is to the subdivision road standards that you'll find on page 19 of that memo. So right now, as discussed at the previous hearings, we are doing road standard trigger by number of dwelling units, and per our attorney's advice, this proposal is to change that to doing it by number of lots. So more of that responsibility for the road standards will fall on the developer or the person who is amending the subdivision at the time of creation, which will be cleaner, and it also allows for the increased density that's allowed by the new state laws, and keeps your road standards pretty similar if people are doing duplexes, so it kind of keeps it level. So we have bumped that up from the prior. We had gone lower in the prior version, so in this version you would stay in minor rural street, which is your unpaved, if you have up to 5 lots. And in almost every zoning district we have, you can have a duplex on your lot. Some of them depend on public water or not, but that would keep your road standards roughly the same in most cases. If they're doing single family only, yes, it's an increased standard because you're asking them at 5 lots of single family. If they go beyond that, they're going to have to pave. So it is a significant change, but it's less so than the prior version that was brought before you and has been amended per that input. And those are the changes to subdivision for the most part, the significant ones that are not just clarity.
Excellent. We're going to open this up to public comment.
This is regarding the growth
Yes.
ordinance as well?
Yes.
Okay.
No, this is the subdivision ordinance. Sorry, subdivision ordinance. Subdivision.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we got a lot on the
It's gonna
agenda
be
tonight.
later
I
evening.
apologize.
No, perfect.
Scott Liberty. The road standard that is being proposed, it penalizes the person who wants to do a single-family development. It used to be you could do 10 lots without paving. Now you're only going to be able to do 5. I mean, it cuts it in half. The argument that the planner gives is, well, you're going to be able to do more units. You can do multifamily plus ADUs. But that's not the direction I think the people of the town want to go with. You're really pushing the developers to do low-income multifamily. And that's going to change this town. Because when you say to a person, well, you can't do single-family, the minute you trigger 6 lots, you've got to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a development. Every developer is going to say, give the town what they want. We'll do all low-income multifamily. And that changes this town, so I'm against it for that reason.
Thank you, sir.
You could do 218.
Does anybody else want to get up and comment? Anyone else? All right, I'll start this time to my right, Ken.
I was the one who met with Kristen. I thought we agreed on 10 lot, Kristen.
Say again?
Didn't we agree on 10 lots when I met with you, when Vinny and I came in and met with you? I thought we changed that.
5. We went from 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Okay.
I'm good.
So effectively, you can have, in most zoning districts, in most cases, you can have up to 2 dwelling units on each of those. Most of the town is in your rural residential agricultural district, which does not allow multifamily. The most you'd be allowed to have on a lot would be a duplex. Many of the other districts require you to be on public water in order to have a duplex. It varies widely. Okay. Obviously, shoreline zoning comes into play. It gets complicated.
All right.
Okay. All right. How about Charity? Do you have any questions? Ann?
I don't have any questions. Thanks, Kristen.
I just want to make sure I understand this. So we're at 3 today.
No.
Okay.
We are switching our threshold.
Okay.
So right now it's by dwelling unit.
Okay.
So you hit 10 dwelling units, which
Okay.
is, a duplex is 2.
Okay.
So you hit 10 dwelling units, you can keep your gravel road, you go to 11, you get bumped up. And again, this is in subdivision, if you are in a subdivision development. So right now, one of the complications that we run into is that with this new density law, if you have enough land and you want to add another full-size dwelling unit on your lot, you can. But if you're the 11th dwelling unit, paving standards on you. You're the one bumping it up to the paving standard. If we do it by lot, which is what our attorney is suggesting, it's dealt with at the time of subdivision review before the planning board. They're very clear on what the road standard is at the time and know what they have to build it to.
Okay. All right.
It is a reduction, though, right? Scott's not wrong. It is a reduction in the number. If you're going to do single family, yes, you're going to trigger your road standards quicker than you would now.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll go to a vote. All 4?
First reading, yeah.
What?
All against?
Subdivision. This is a first read for subdivision. So you can move it forward, and that'll allow us to do the public hearing. We're going to do the public hearing this Thursday at Planning Board. We will need to table this at second read per our attorney's advice because there are amendments pending at the state level where he advised that we should not be passing it yet.
So basically,
In full.
we're going to do the first read now, and we could be tabling this for months.
Ideally, they wrap this up by end of month, but I don't know.
But it could be a while.
Okay. So what are you proposing?
That we can pass the first we can pass the first reading, and then we're going to table the next one when it comes up.
Okay, well, we just voted, so do you want to have a revote? Is that what you're saying? You want to?
No.
What was the result?
It was 3-2.
So it's 3-2, 3
Okay.
no's and 2 yeses.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll pass the first reading.
Okay. All right. All
Wait a
right.
minute, were there three
I thought it was we
no's?
didn't pass. It's
3 yeses or 3 no's?
3
Wait, let's
no's
do it
and
again.
2 yeses.
Who's it? Right.
Okay, so Charity, myself, and you said no.
I said yes.
I said no.
Ken's.
Okay, Ken, I'm sorry, Ken, Charity, and I said no.
Okay, then it's no.
Okay, all right. All right, so now we're moving on to Resolve 2526-34, the Allegiance Fire Truck Contract. Do I have a motion to remove Resolve 2526-34, Allegiance Fire Truck Contract for further review and discussion? Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Motion Vince, do I have a second?
Second.
Second Ann. All right, so, and then We are going to take a vote. Everyone that is going to vote to remove this so we can go on to the next motion. All in favor? Because now we're taking it off the table. So, yeah. So the way it's worked, so we had tabled it before, right?
Oh,
so we're taking
okay.
it off the table.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So all in favor of taking it off the table? Okay, all in favor. All right, excellent. 5, motion to be resolved that the town council either cancels, motion 1, be resolved that the town council cancel the current fire truck purchase contract with Allegiance Fire and Rescue and authorize payment of applicable $111,085 cancellation fee. 2, be resolved that the town council continue with the current fire truck purchase contract with Allegiance Fire and Rescue and authorize financing of $1,110,852 of the purchase, or be resolved, number 3, that the town council place the fire truck purchase on the June election ballot for voter consideration. So if I'm going to have a motion, you have to tell me which one it is, and we'll go from there. So do I have a motion, and what?
I'd like to put forth a motion that we look at another alternative. Can we do that?
And how does that work?
How does that work? I'd like to make a motion that Justine comes up and talks to us. So I think we have another solution to this situation that most of us inherited.
Hello. So I'm proposing that we fill, currently the capital reserve fund, the project account for fire and public safety sits at a deficit because of this purchase. And I'm proposing that we use existing capital reserve funds to cover down on that deficit, with the understanding and intention that said capital reserve funds are restored to their original fund in a future budget year, ideally next budget year.
Okay, so I just want to make sure, Britt, can you come up here, please? Because I want to make sure we're clear on this. I think we can do this by doing 2, but how do we do that?
So a counselor would just need to propose a motion that I motion to use capital reserve funds.
Okay, we have to say, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'd like to motion to use capital reserve funds to pay the truck up in whole.
So we don't have to finance.
We don't have to finance, so we do not have to finance it.
There's no financing, no use of fund balance.
Yes, to use the
no
fund
impact
balance.
to the existing budget.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. So now we are going to open this up to the floor for public discussion.
All right, Judy Semino. So I just wanted to kind of give an overall, because I don't think people understand what really happened here with the pumper truck. The pumper truck bond, the bond was actually voted for in 2018 to purchase a fire pumper truck, along with a ladder truck. The bond was for $4.8 million and was approved by voters. The problem happened was the ladder truck got purchased, and the pumper truck did not. And so $622,000 that was supposed to go to the pumper truck didn't go to the pumper truck. Yeah, I think it bought a new engine for it, but it didn't go to purchase a new pumper truck. And it went to buy a bunch of other stuff. And so the money is gone for the $622,000 that got voted on in 2018. So now we move ahead here, and the town manager at the time, Mike Foley, thought that the $622,000 was still here and it didn't get spent. Well, that was incorrect. It did get spent. And so we don't have the $622,000 to go towards the fire pumper truck. So the chief put in for the fire pumper truck purchase in December of 2024 for the new pumper truck. In March of 2025, the truck was paid for by $1.1 million paid up front with a $70,000 discount for paying for cash, and there was a $50,000 for a trade-in on a vehicle. So here we go. In June, the finance department realized that the $622,000 had been spent and advised the town manager. This is the information that I was given. To my knowledge, the public was not made aware of the problem. Mike Foley left in November, and in December, we had an interim town manager, Denise Clevitt, stepped in, and she was advised by the finance director of the situation that the pump truck didn't have the money anymore. And so now, 9 months later, or actually we are a year out now, we purchased it in March of last year. We're 1 year out now. Still don't have the truck, but it's on hold and it's done. But we paid for a truck out of, like what you just said, Justine, out of capital reserve account, because it came from somewhere. We did not have that money set aside for this because it was never voted on. And so there was no voting on this new fire pumper truck for $1.1 million. I know the chief had got up at a couple meetings back and said that we did vote on this, and we voted on it on Article 13 in 2025. We did not. It was not a warrant article. Did anybody remember voting for a new pumper truck? No, we did not vote for a new pumper truck. So it was not, and I know that Dan had gotten up after and said 600 people voted for it. Well, they did not. Article 13 had nothing to do with the pumper truck. It had to do with some land reserve account or something. So we did not authorize a fire pumper truck. I went back to 2024 and I looked at the fire pumper truck in 2024 to see if we voted on it in 2024, a year earlier, which would have made more sense. No, there was nothing there either. So if we're going back, we did not vote on this pumper truck. But do we need it? I think we do need it. I think we need the pumper truck. But I think there needs to be some accountability. There was some serious mismanagement of money. There was some serious lack of transparency to the public on what went down. So I think the truck needs to be purchased by the voters, and I think that's a great idea how she promoted it. But I also feel the people that were involved in that transaction need to be held accountable, and it needs to put in their personnel file on what went down on this stuff, because this is not a good way for us to run a town. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Again, Marcel Vachon, I live here in Main Street, and I actually am going to echo what Judy said, because I think that the town does need the pumper truck. The machinations that happened in behind there are, suspect in at least. And I'd like to find out a little more clarity about what actually happened, but I think that's just, since we've already voted for it back in 2018 or 2019, and then we actually purchased it, we've paid for it, we haven't accepted it yet, I think we should, because I think the community needs it.
No.
That's it.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Dan McGuire, Johnson Road, Gray. I spoke several meetings ago about the truck. I found, or was shown it was a proposed ballot that had the pumper truck on it. And I mistakenly thought that that was what was voted on. I disagree with the analysis that Judy did, in the sense that in 2018, when we took out a bond, that there was a discussion, there have been multiple discussions about fire trucks and rescue units over the years. So it's pretty easy, I think, to get confused about it. But that bond specifically was for the ladder truck, which was purchased and paid for through that bond. I can't explain the series of financial events from that, but that bond was for a large variety of equipment. It included public works as well as public safety and some other things which, frankly, I don't recall. I do think the truck is necessary. We are replacing 2 vehicles with this one. And I think that when you buy fire trucks, the $70,000 savings for paying up front was well worth it. I don't disagree that obviously there was a heck of a lot of confusion around the finances that were available to pay for that truck. And some of the people who were involved in those decisions are no longer with us. So I don't know how you can have any more accountability than that. But I did want to straighten out the record, and I did want to make it clear that I think it really is a good idea for us to pay for this truck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Pam Mason, 95 Yarmouth Road.
I just want to say that absolutely, if you go back to the budget season of 2018, and it was always a lot of information. You knew exactly what was going to be in the bond question. It's not just the bond question. You do know that when you go to the bank and you do an obligation bond, there is actually paperwork you get from the bank. And on that paperwork has to be specifically listed these big ticket items. That paperwork remains here in the town office, and Fran has come in and got a copy of it. It did have the fire pumper truck for 2018 on the bond paperwork for $622,000. And I want to make it very clear that on that paperwork, the ladder truck and the $622,000 pumper truck were loans, a bond payable for 20 years. So 20 years, we're paying right now for a fire truck we don't have, okay? That's nothing about the 1.1 million that we just paid. We're paying for this $622,000 currently until 2039. Let that sink in. And what we bought instead with that money is about 55 trinkets. Things that you would never buy with a 20-year bond because the lifetime of the item has to match what's bought. You wouldn't buy something that's only going to last 5 years with a 20-year bond. And so that has happened here. So now we've gone and spent another $1.1 million for the same fire. This is a very expensive fire pumper truck, just saying. And I agree with Judy that I don't know how somebody doesn't know that they don't have their fire pumper truck. But it's unfortunate because we are stuck holding the bag. And I am told that we were going to replace 2 vehicles with the fire pumper truck. I understand we probably do need the fire pumper truck because the other one's a rust bucket, so I'm told. I'm just praying that we get rid of both of the 2 trucks that are supposed to be replaced. I don't want to keep any of them. I want them gone. You know, because next thing you know, the one that we don't trade when we've been told they're both going to go and replace with this one is 10 years from now, we'll be saying we got to replace that truck. I just want to get this straightened out and hopefully going forward when we take out bonds, that we got to have some way of navigating, keeping track of what's supposed to be purchased and when. And if you don't want to spend the money on a fire pumper truck, then we should have paid the debt service down. Those bonds, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, really you guys should be talking to a bond counsel about what went down and whether or not we have taxes or fees for not spending that money the way it was supposed to be done. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam Monroe. And yeah, I did ask that question about the bond. What's the consequence of not using the money as, you know, was purported to the bondholders, the bond company, and of course the taxpayers? And I haven't received a reply yet. And I think it's critical that we understand what kind of a mess we're in with the bond company. That's the #1 issue. People say we shouldn't talk about, like, hide it so that, but you know, that's not the way it works. You know, this is something that the council has responsibility to trace. I don't know if any of you have done that. I've written twice, and so is this, you know, okay. Next thing. What I guess one of the speakers mentioned is that that it was already voted on by the people. Well, it wasn't voted on. The new truck the money was spent without coming to the public and telling them that they were going to be used and transfer the money from one account to the other account. You have to come to the public with that kind of money. That was not done. And also, it's my understanding, or rumor has it, let's do it that way, the rumor has it that a couple of motors were bought with some of that money, that we used that $600,000 as the guide. Some of that money was used to replace motors in the fire truck. And of course now the truck body chassis have fallen apart, but you know, we have a motor or 2 motors, I don't know how many, but it has the life of, the replacement has life of so far only about 3 years. Don't forget, this was purchased after the bond. And so we got these vehicles that I can understand why, you know, the fire department wants to keep these two rusted vehicles because of the motors. We need to get our money back, some kind of money back on some of this stuff. And I hope the council investigates that and gets to the bottom of that. And if that's the case, that's misrepresentation of public funds if we use the money to buy motors instead of the vehicle. So this is not just to toss it aside. This is very, very serious situation we're in now. And we, the taxpayers and the citizens of Gray, deserve the respect to receive answers to our questions about the situation. And the town council, even though you weren't involved, your responsibility now is to come clean and give us an update of what's going on. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
Anyone else? Okay.
One more thing.
Is that point? Yes.
It'll be short, I promise.
As long as it's to clarify a point, yes.
It is. I just want to mention that on your motion, when you did that earlier, Justine came up and asked that you, that you're going to take the money from the capital reserve with the understanding that next year it's going back in. And that end piece didn't get added to the motion. And I think tonight we deserve to know whether or not the money is going to go back in to the capital reserve next year or not. I mean, if you're going to, if that's what she's recommending, that piece would need to be added to the end of your motion. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
So just to be clear on the truck, I'll be probably one of the first to say when it first came out, I was like, we don't want it, we'll send it back. But after speaking with Kurt and after seeing the situation where he kind of, lack of a better word, he got taken out of a truck that he should have had. The reality is if we take it back, it's a $110,000 penalty that we take. And if we wait another 2 years, say, to get it, to put it back in again, we still need one, it's probably going to be up another $160,000. So it's, in theory, it's going to cost us another $250,000 to get it. I don't like how this happened. Most of us were not here, but the reality is what we have to deal with. But again, I think we have a solution, and I really don't want to borrow money. To their point, when Pam comes up, when we put out a bond, one of the things we haven't done a good job is follow through. We vote for something and we walk away and we think it's done. We need to follow through to make sure that if we voted for A, B, C, D, that's what we're buying and that's what we're putting the money into. And that hasn't been done. And the other thing is, if you look at the bonds over history, we liked something 5 years ago that we voted for, but to Pam's point, we're paying for it for a long time. And when you start looking at all the money that adds up, everything, we all want everything, for free, but it adds up. So I'm just saying, when we have bonds in the future, let's really think about what we're voting for and if we really need it. But as for the fire truck, I am definitely in support at this time.
Ken?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of research on this. Councilor Plinge and I, obviously, we went to the fire station with the chief. We met with him. We inspected both trucks. So the rescue pumper we have now is a 2008. So when we get the new one, it's at the 20-year life cycle, and it's pretty much at the end of its life cycle. No new motor, no new motor. The other truck we are going to be trading in, correct, Chief? That's a 2010. So that'll be roughly at the end of its life cycle. And we're going to get $50,000 for it. So getting rid of two, getting one, they're both at the end of their life cycle, undependable. So going back to the $622,000, Pam was correct. It looked like it was on the spreadsheet earmarked to replace engine 42. I had Debbie Fitzpatrick and Justine dig into this. So in 2021, it says engine 42 refurbished $10,000, engine 43 refurbished $10,000, left $600,000. I had Justine track down the $600,000. They spent it on 55 different projects around the properties in Gray. That has nothing to do with us. Long before we got here, it was dumped in our lap. We need a new fire truck. It's as simple as that.
Thank you. Ann?
Yeah, I agree. We need the new fire truck, and we absolutely need a better strategy and structure for tracking these bond funds going forward.
Jody?
I'm on the same page. I'm in support of getting a new fire truck when we need it. No questions about that. But certainly need to be keeping better track of where this money is going.
Actually, can I just follow up?
Yes,
I just
absolutely.
wanted to make sure, because I, in the spirit of this, I just want to make sure we understand if we're repaying the money into the capital account next year, like where is that money coming from? How
Sure.
does that work?
I'm gonna give it to you right now.
Okay, thanks.
Everybody's sitting. No. So it's $835,010. In 26, we had approved a fund for capital approval of $1 million. And of that $1 million, we've only used $636,000 of that money. So that leaves us a balance of $364,000. So if you subtract that $835 and $10 from the $364, you get $471,010. We also have a fund in the town called Debt Services Capital Fund, which is something we used to use and we do not use it anymore. Sitting in that fund is $211,155. So if you subtract that, now we're down to $259,855. That's what we have right now. So the other two are fully paid, and this is where we're going to borrow the money. And what we're going to do is we are going to borrow the money because there are no projects on the book right now from the Land Acquisition Fund, which has $639,656. So basically what we would do is we would transfer $260 over, we would make that whole, and my recommendation is instead of putting the $260 back next year, if we can do it, that's great, but I'd really like to see us give us a, just in case budgets are tight again, I'd like to see us give it a little bit longer of a period of time, maybe 3 years to do that, and then put that money back and make it whole. So that's where it is coming from. So the only thing we're really, in sense, borrowing is from ourselves, and it's $259,855 to shift over, and then we'll shift it back, but then we don't have to borrow money. Fair enough, Justine? Beautiful. Any questions?
I guess I do. I mean, how is this different from using, the funds that had been approved, I guess, for a fire truck back in 2018 being used for 55 other different projects, and I guess is in your mind the difference is, and I'm comparing this to
Sure.
the taking money from the Land Acquisition Fund, which was not, the voters approved this in a separate warrant article for that purpose.
Absolutely. And so the way I'm going to do this is, number one, not to my knowledge do we have any purchases of acquisitions coming up this year. So that's number one. And number two, I see it as a better investment than going out and borrowing $260,000, as long as we're going to put it back, and we're going to have that in writing as part of the agreement of passing this, that we're going to put it back. So it's going to go back. It's not going to be gone. We have nothing that we're going to borrow, unless you'd rather go borrow the money. That's our other alternative.
Well, and I think the difference is to your point, is that, as Pam mentioned, there was a bond that was set that we borrowed for that truck that we did not buy that with. The land, it's a sticky situation. It is, but the money's sitting in the bank. We can either borrow it and pay interest on it. We can either borrow it and pay interest, or we could not earn interest. And I'd just rather not earn interest, on the money and pay it back.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that even though we don't have a pending acquisition at this time, and something like that could come up at any time, and one of our land trust partners could approach us and say, hey, we have this opportunity to preserve this farmland in Gray, and could we get a couple $100,000 from you, or $300,000? And we were like, we might be like, sorry, we don't have the money because we used it to buy a pumper truck, fire pumper truck.
I'm only one vote, but I'm only one vote, but I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off the here and the now. Meaning, if something happens, then you know what, you can blame me personally on my vote. But I'm going to go for the here and now. What the reality is, and the reality is, we don't have any acquisitions coming up, and I hate to see the town pay more interest on something we don't when we have the money here. And again, we will put it back in as soon as we can. And maybe
I mean, I guess I'm just concerned given the penchant for budget cutting of this group, I'm just concerned that won't happen going forward. The money won't come back in.
Well, I guess at this point, all we can do is take a vote on it.
Okay, actually, Brett, how do we change the motion to add that we will pay it back and?
So you just need to amend your original motion to include paying back through whatever means you intend to.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, do you want to amend the motion so that we can borrow from that fund?
Yeah, I would like, I mean, obviously, I would like to amend the motion to do the two things that we had said, which was number one, we would take the 636 from the capital approval, the leftover, the 364, I'd like to apply that. I'd like to apply the debt services money of the 21155, and then I would like to borrow it's 259,855 from the land acquisition fund. In turn, we will be paying that back.
And I'll second that.
Do a second, okay.
Yes.
Can I get a vote? Who is for? Against? Okay. Did you vote? Yes?
I did not.
You did, okay.
No.
So 3, 1, and 1.
And excuse me, because you did have a question. I'm going to let you, if you want to come up and speak, because I didn't mean to cut you off, and I wanted to be fair. A little backwards, but yeah.
I just was curious as to if there's a precedent for being able to borrow. I know the voters voted to set aside that money for land acquisition, and I understand there's no projects at the current. I'm just not sure from a legal standpoint if the council can do that.
Right.
And just, I don't know if there's I'm not against doing this. I'm not. I'm just curious I don't want to have some sort of snafu 3 years down the road of, well, we borrowed money.
Well, it's not going to be 3. I mean, we're gonna put it back in. I mean, the intention is not to have this linger out. The intention is to take care of this right now, get the money and put it right back in. It's not. We don't want this to linger because.
But where do we get the money from?
Okay.
Justine, can you come up for a second, please?
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Thanks, Marcel.
Okay, so what's the
I have a
question?
question.
Okay, yep.
So, we have CD maturing in May, correct?
Yes, yes.
And we could put that on a warrant article to take some money out of that account?
You
and
can.
transfer that?
I wouldn't recommend that because those CDRS balances are part of our unassigned fund balance.
Yeah.
So just because they're tied up in a CDRS right now doesn't mean they're taken out of the equation. That's still part of the unassigned fund balance that we quote to you all. So I wouldn't recommend that.
Okay, you wouldn't recommend it?
No, I would not recommend
Okay,
that.
alrighty.
Do we have any penalties for taking money out of that? Meaning any legal issue with borrowing money from that account?
We had an email earlier regarding capital reserve or general fund and the use of, and my interpretation of it is that there is not an issue with it. This is all Fund 2 capital reserve funds, if you will, and there wouldn't be an issue with doing an interfund transfer, if you will. But I'm happy to look into that more, look at the charter. But my interpretation is that that's not an issue.
I'd like to get bond counsel, or I get legal counsel opinion on that, because I just feel like the issue was brought up earlier this evening about, excuse me, using bond proceeds for another purpose. I mean, the voters set aside this money for this purpose. Just because we haven't spent it yet doesn't mean we won't in the future. And I would also point out that the 2020 comprehensive plan, which was voted, 80% of voters in the November election approved it. There was a lot of discussion in the comp plan about protecting open space and the town's rural character, and that's what that money is designed to do. And it's not just the job of any individual landowner to set aside their land for the public to enjoy. It's really, if we want open space, if we want to protect the rural character of the town, then we've got to put our money where our mouth is, kind of, and that's what that money is for.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I certainly can appreciate that, and that's kind of what's made this whole situation so difficult, because I see it as we fund this with fund balance, which I, again, do not recommend, or we fund it with funds on hand. And I want to do right by the voters by returning that balance to where it was prior to borrowing from it. 'Cause I think that's what should be done. It's not an easy situation, no matter how you look at it. I think in terms of the bond, I can't speak to what conversations were or were not had at that time. I think that's when you stray from the original plan of the bond, that's a bigger issue because it is a bond, not just a capital reserve fund.
But we can't bind future councils to do anything, right? I mean, that's the reality.
That's all I was going to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the reality. You can make, your promises are empty because you can't bind future.
Sometimes you have to do the greater good of the town over your projects. We have to do the greater good of the town. And right now, why do we want to borrow
Can we
money
have a
and
point
pay
of order,
interest on
please?
something?
Yeah, let's have a
We
point of
can't
order.
continue this conversation.
We've already voted on it, so let's just move forward.
3, 1, and 1, let's just move forward. All right. And if we find out there's a legal issue, we'll deal with it. All right, so now going on to unfinished business. Second and final reading, Order 2526, the zoning ordinance. Motion, the Town of Gray hereby ordains the Town of Gray zoning ordinance, Chapter 402, shall be amended to align with LD 1829, Public Law 385, and the associated amendments and legal compliance and clarity. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Charity. And is there anything that you want to say, Kristen?
There are 3 or 4 minor changes, if you want to hit those real quick. Or
Yep, go for it.
Okay. We added, since the last time this came before you, we've added definition of access way for clarity because that is a term that is used but was not previously defined. We have added some minor updates to accessory dwelling units to clarify single-family dwelling, only 1 ADU allowed per the town, and some CEO authority rewording per OAC input, and done some other minor changes to off-site parking distance, put that in feet instead of just miles, and added the stormwater 50-year standard to match what the proposed amendment was in subdivision, to have that reflected in site plan as well. Those are the only changes since the last time it has come before you. Again, this one is before you tonight as second read and final approval, but we're asking you to table it per the advice of the town attorney, given the pending changes in Augusta.
So do we,
Let's make a motion to table?
yeah.
Oh,
Let's open up the public discussion. We were going to table it, but does anybody want to say anything before we table it? All right.
go for it.
Yeah. That's why I asked.
Don't fall, Pam.
Point of order. No, yeah.
You have to speak to what's on the floor.
I was going to speak about Kristen.
What?
I was going to speak about Kristen, but I won't. I'll save it to the end then.
Okay.
All right, fine.
Okay, do we have a motion to table?
Motion, yeah, I'll make a motion to table.
Do a second. All in favor of table on this? All right, moving on.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right, second, Order 2526-25, the growth ordinance. Motion, the Town of Gray hereby ordains the Gray Town Council Growth Management Ordinance 409 be adopted as presented pursuant to the authority of 30-A MRSA 3001 and 4360 to regulate residential growth in accordance with the town's comprehensive plan, and the ordinance shall take effect July 1st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion, Vince. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ken. Tammy.
Good evening.
Hi, Tammy.
Tammy Munson, Director of Code Enforcement and Planning. This is an ordinance. We're at second read for this, and this is a result of a directive that was given to me by the current council, just so that folks in the audience understand, based on these laws that Kristen keeps referencing all night. There's been a whirlwind of changes in our lives, and they seem to just be never ending. So essentially, this was a result of a law that came out that was LD 1829. That was a very robust law that was going to really increase the density that are allowed in statewide and allow for a much smaller lot size of down to as low as 5,000 square feet, essentially for any place in Gray that has access to public water and that can put in a comparable sewer system. And that is very alarming for a community this size, because obviously this is a rural community and our comp plan isn't promoting density, high impact density. So as a result of that, we are putting a growth ordinance in place to protect what potentially could happen. Again, the laws are changing rapidly, and there's another one in the future, which is LD 2173, which is why Kristen has asked you to table these items, that hopefully is going to correct a lot of the mistakes that 1829 made. But for right now, there could be a small window that could open up those floodgates. We're hoping that we're going to be able to remove this in the future and that our zoning will just allow us to control our own growth. But right now, this is the only way that we can control those floodgates. Because if we don't do this, it's the unknown. So, do you have any questions?
Well, I think we're gonna first open it up to public
sorry.
comment, and
Okay.
then, if they've got questions, if you wanna hang out here, yeah.
Good evening. My name's Andrew Jervis of Jervis Homes LLC. We're a locally owned real estate development and new construction home construction company based in Standish. Currently, we're working on several projects in Gray, including the Mayall Mills subdivision on Mail Road, which is a 13-lot single-family development. We also have Copus Grove condos, which is a 7-unit condominium project. We also have a third project in the planning phase, which is a 51-lot subdivision off Ramsdale Road called Durgan Woods, which we expect to bring back to planning board for preliminary approval in the coming months. The main reason for for being here tonight is to speak about the proposed cap of 5 building permits per contractor per year. This type of limitation will have a significant impact on my business, particularly with respects to the project like Durgan Woods. Developments of this size require substantial investments. To date, I've already incurred considerable costs related to land acquisition, surveying, engineering, permitting, and ongoing holding costs. If this ordinance is implemented as written, limiting 5 building permits per year, it would make it extremely difficult to complete a project of this scale in a reasonable time frame. At that place, it would take a 51-lot subdivision over 10 years to build out. These kind of restrictions make projects like this very hard to work with financially. At the March Planning Board meeting, which was the first reading, it was stated that the ordinance is not intended to hinder local developers. Respectfully, I would say this provision does exactly that. To give some context, in 2025, we pulled 9 building permits totaling 13 dwelling units. So far in 2026, we have pulled 3 permits with 2 more being submitted this week and 3 more planned this year, which would bring a total of 8. I've also reviewed permit activity in the town over the past 2 years. In 2025, there were 3 contractors pulled more than 5 permits, and 1 did so in 2024. Another concern is the unintended consequences, as mentioned in the March meeting. Ordinances like this sometimes have the opposite effect of what it's intended. If I'm limited to 5 permits per year, I may be forced to sell off lots to recover a lot of my infrastructure and carrying costs that would likely result in more homes being built than if I was allowed to develop myself. I understand and respect the town's goal of managing growth responsibly. However, I respectfully ask the council to reconsider applying a strict per contractor permit cap, especially for projects that are already in planning and approval process. Developers make significant financial commitments based on the rules in place at the time. So at the March meeting, it was also mentioned that the intent is to prevent large out-of-state developers.
We need to
from-
wrap it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
3 minutes.
Okay. Basically, I'm looking to develop 51 lots on 160 acres, not 600 on, small in-town lots. So 10 years is just an unreasonable time to build out a project like this. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. So, I have a question.
Sure.
I know we met with this, and you calculated out if somebody come in and how long does it take from a house to go from bringing in an excavator to popping up a for sale sign? We calculated the time. How long does it take?
Well, I think we said that if it was quick, it would be like maybe 3 months, but more like 6 months to 9 months because materials aren't available. It's just they don't go as quick as they used to.
So we kind of figured that.
From a house from start to finish, correct?
Correct. So
Yeah.
like a developer who came in with the excavator and they went from one lot to the next lot to the next lot, and they followed up with a foundation. We calculated he could only do like 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6 is what the OAC, Ordinance
So-
Advisory Committee.
I don't see how you are gonna be able to do any more than that. That's what we calculated that growth
Right,
is
I mean,
doing in
what we
Stillwater.
what we can always do is this was, part of the intention of this is to make sure that we have something on our books by July 1.
Okay.
Because these LD laws are changing so rapidly that we don't know what the next thing will be. The next thing on their floor could be communities aren't allowed to do growth ordinances. Now, one of the things in LD 2173 is that now you can put growth limits on growth areas, which has never been allowed before, and it's kind of like counterproductive of the intention of the law. So we're hoping that by July of 2027, the language is going to say public water and public sewer for the 5,000 square foot minimum lot size, which is your Portland, your Southport, your places with your local sewer, quasi-municipal sewer districts,
Okay.
not private septic systems.
All right,
So we can always increase these numbers as well.
all right.
So again, the reason we're doing this is because if the state comes back and says, if you don't have anything on the books, you can't enforce anything. So what we're trying to do is protect the town by getting something on the books now. Then again, when the state comes back, if they're much more lenient, then we can adjust it quickly. My other question is, for divisions that had already come forward, were we doing any type of grandfathering?
No, we weren't.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, we'll get to us in a minute. Dan had a question?
Dan McGuire, Johnson Road. I believe in the past we have grandfathered projects that were in the pipeline when we've made when the council's made ordinance changes. Just for that reason, because there's work in progress, and I think that's a decision the council can make if it wants to. You can set a date whereby, you're in by such and such a date. You're under the old rules. Otherwise, you have to apply by the new ones.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, typically the way that it's the grandfathering or as far as from a permitting perspective works is that if you have a new code that goes into effect, as long as your permit's been issued prior to the implementation date, you fall under that the prior building code.
Okay.
Or prior code. With planning projects, it's much more difficult. And there's a lot of upfront expense, and he's still in a planning process and isn't in a formal application or formal approval stage yet. But Kristen can hop on and speak about that as well.
Yeah, just to that point, if you do want to add in some grandfathering clause, if you want to include Andy for being here and bringing up those issues, we will need to be careful with the language because he's come to sketch plan review and not preliminary plan review before the planning board. So if you want to make sure to loop his project in because he has invested in it and done so much work at sketch and worked with the town on the plans, we'll have to be careful about the language. There's kind of legally about what's a pending project, if you will.
And that's nothing we need to do. We can pass this, but that's nothing we need to do tonight.
I think you'd probably want to amend it tonight,
Okay.
because this is fine, this is
All right,
second read,
so-
final passage, right? So if you're going to add grandfathering language, I would think now is the time to do it. But
Okay.
Well, do you think that somebody could do 15 houses in a year? Because we researched this.
Do I have a chance to respond?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely can do 15 houses a year. So between the two projects is 20 total dwelling units, just 13 single-family houses and 7 condos, which we will build out in 2 years. And that's just what we're doing in the town of Gray. We have other projects going somewhere
Well, I
else. So,
drive by Mail Road. When did you start that project?
I don't know, that's a very good, the first permits were pulled in last year, 2025.
Okay, so
yeah.
in the whole year, how many of you got completed, done?
So, as of right now, we'll have 7 done, but, so.
So 6 is a realistic number, like we calculated.
I mean, I pulled 9 permits last year, so I understand in
That's
terms
not
of
the question
completion.
I was
Right.
asking you. I drive by your subdivision all the time.
Yeah.
Because I have towing company in Gray.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have 6 or 7 completely.
So we have
finished
5
and sold.
done on Mail Road. And
Right, so
we
that's
have
the
the new
number.
road in, which we have 1 done and 2 more started, so that's 8. But that's, like I said, that's just in Gray. We have other projects in other towns, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, let's.
Anyone else?
I would just like to follow up with what Dan said, that, I do think that if, this gentleman has bought this land and he's put all kinds of money into this project, I mean, you're talking huge money for these guys when they go buy a big chunk of land like this, and they're putting in roads, and they're having to go through all the process. It's big money. I mean, he probably wouldn't have bought the land had he known he was only going to get to build 5 houses a year. I mean, that's something you would consider. And I want to just say that unless none of you have gone down Woodcock, certainly this guy, A.H. Grover, has been building. You see the housing places that he puts in, and I can tell you, he's building many more than 10 houses a year, just like clockwork. I mean, I walk that road 5 times a week, and let me tell you, he puts the houses up. There isn't 5 a year. He's putting them right up, just like gangbusters. So if somebody's got their stuff together, they certainly can do a whole lot more than 6. Just saying.
Mike, is there a note?
Somebody's,
Yeah, that's for later. I can read
Okay.
it. Yeah, so, anybody else?
Come on, Sam.
Come on, Sam.
Just quickly, this is something we've been grappling with as a town for a long time. I remember working on the backlots ordinance when I was on the Ordinance Review Committee in 2001. So it's something that we've been working on for a long time in the town of Gray. Back then, I think we made some mistakes, in limiting the growth that's gotten us to the place where we are now, which is, I think if anybody has any young people in their lives, basically it is impossible for them to acquire housing. The story that I hear over and over again, because I have a daughter who just graduated college, is that I've done everything correctly. I went to college, I got a job in my field, I'm making good $45,000 a year money in my first year position, and I have no prayer of affording a home. So I think we should really think hard about any policies in the town of Gray that limit the amount of housing that we have available to people, because it's just getting more expensive. And I think we have to give our kids an opportunity to actually buy a home in the town that they grew up in, which is increasingly difficult for them. And I'm not super educated on this matter. I was just listening right here. I came for a different reason, but it seems pretty clear that the people who are experts in building houses say it's going to reduce the amount of houses that get built. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, I'll start with Ann. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just do. I think this is too restrictive, and I'm going to vote against it. I mean, the state of Maine is something like 80,000 units short, and in affordable housing units, and the towns have got to.
Yeah, I did want to make one point, is that the council, these numbers were calculated based on state law, and it was basically, the new law is, it was 130% of the average of the last 5 years. You can amend these, you can change.
Hold on a second, Tammy, I'm sorry, and I'm going to cut you off. But Brett, do you have a question?
I have someone online.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, I thought you said later on.
Okay, go ahead, Tim, go.
So you could change these numbers tonight. You know, what we did is we figured the 130% of the last 5 years, which is what another change to state law opposed to the 110% that we had talked about. But, you know, you could increase these numbers tonight. You know, it's your decision.
They were
I did what
correct? We did those off averages. Those were off averages.
Those were off averages of basically what the state law states around how you come up with the numbers to implement growth ordinances. And it's 130% of the average of the last 5 years.
Now, didn't you increase it from your original already?
Right, because the law that exists now is 110% of the last 10 years.
All right.
The law that's in a future proposal is 130% of the last 5 years. Our attorney recommended we use the 130%. So the number, these figures totaled it, but again, it was basically what the OAC recommended and what you recommended. So these numbers are up to you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
we let this Rick guy speak real quick? I can't read his name, I can't. Rick Light?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if my video's on. This is Rick Light from 35 Fran Circle. Anyway, I've been listening to the conversation and just wanted to second what Mr. Feifel had said, is that as we all know, if you had read anything, we are in a housing crisis. Affordability is a crisis. And I've been in development and construction design for four decades. And I can tell you that when you say 5 building permits a year, you may be thinking of a small builder who, like you say, it takes typically 9 months to build a house, depending on as was mentioned, but it's really, it's subject to the project. And there are 2 things to think about. And one is the fact that if you've got a project, you may have multiple buildings that you can occupy in the course of a year. I'm working on a project right now. We will have 10 or 15 units completed all at one time for an occupancy permit this year in the town of Falmouth. And so to think about 5 units, I think you're thinking about maybe small individual builders. Yeah, that's probably a handful, no question about it. Some builders can handle, but that's not the point. The point is looking at housing as a need, and housing as a way to grow the community. The way to control the housing and control the densities is with zoning, not with the growth permits, or putting reasonable limits on growth permits is what I would recommend. But 5 a year, I think, would really backfire on the town. And secondarily, I think in terms of protections for the gentleman who came up who's doing the project in town, or projects in town, is that I think, Kristen, you can correct me on this, but basically under planning purposes, once you receive preliminary approval, you have certain statutory rights and protections. And the whole business with development, as was mentioned, is that if you can't get predictability, you're not going to move forward, and the town will become stagnant. So developers need predictability. And so whether you can grandfather current applicants back to sketch plan, as Kristen mentioned, might take some real creative language, but you are protected, I believe, back to at least with a preliminary approval, you do have protections in place. It sounds like this particular applicant has put quite a bit of time and effort in, and it would be unfair for any of you to think about, if you were in the same playing field, to have the playing field pulled out under you. Now, how you can actually make that happen legally and within the ordinance, I don't know. That's going to take some thinking, but I think the fact that somebody has vested time, energy, and a lot of money to move something forward in good faith with a planning board, and then to have that pulled out from you would be very unfair. So anyway, just some talking points, but I think we need to, I think a 5 limit growth permit, building permit limit is very, very restrictive and would hurt the town in the long run. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
To clarify, Tammy, that doesn't restrict growth, that doesn't restrict permits in the growth area.
Correct.
Okay.
And he's not at preliminary plan, he's only at sketch plan? Thank you.
And then the only other thing I want to make, and let's just go to a vote, I think we're ready, unless some of you else has, is that, I hear Sam, I hear what he's saying, but, we've been looking for a house for quite a bit, for a year now for my son, and these subdivisions are not something your daughter at 45 or my son and his girlfriend at $200,000 can't even afford. So if somebody wants to put in a subdivision that's affordable, I would be all for it. Can we just go to a vote? Yep, all right, so all in favor of passing this? 3? All against? We're voting, we've already read the motion for LD.
We already read the motion. That's the first thing we read is the motion.
Yeah, the motion was read. Order 2526, the growth ordinance. The growth ordinance, yes. So 3 and all opposed? 2, so 3 and 2. All right. So now we're going to move to new business. Now we're going to go last piece in old business, the warrant articles, and order 2526-28, approval of the fiscal year 2027 warrant articles. Doing a motion to accept the second and final reading of the proposed fiscal year 2027 annual town meeting warrant articles. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Vince first, Ken second. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to open up the floor for public discussion. I'm going to run. I don't want to miss much, but I got to run because it's going to be a little bit. So.
All right. So would anybody like to come up and say yes?
Yeah. All right. Start it.
All right. Go. Let's do the online first.
Okay. Yeah. Go for that.
All right.
Sandy. Go ahead, Sandy Carter.
Put your phone on.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. I wanted to point out, first of all, that I was very impressed with the Ad-Hoc Transfer Station Committee. And I find it alarming that we would spend that kind of effort and time to analyze the best route forward for a cost-benefit analysis for the transfer station and how we handle our refuge in town, which I am, as I said, very impressed with their work, but yet not do that for public safety. It's clear from the sheriff's presentation and from some really good questions from the council, in particular about the car usage, and perhaps is there a different model for us to calculate the costs of vehicles and share that more evenly or fairly across multiple municipalities, as well as how having the standard one deputy covering several municipalities works in conjunction with those that are hired to be just in gray. To me, that just demonstrates that there needs to be a lot more work around any changes we make to what we're doing. The fact that the public had limited to no input into this decision is also alarming when the transfer station was able to do a really robust survey with a high level of responses. I think if you look at last year's warrant article and vote, the residents voted in the majority to add a third deputy, and the cost of that deputy was listed right on the warrant article. So I think that goes against the voters' wishes to just simply cancel that contract and eliminate all 3 deputies in one fell swoop. I also think that it's very clear, based on the numbers presented, that losing dedicated patrol officers in the town of Gray would have a substantial impact on response times and would pretty much eliminate the robust traffic patrolling that is currently being done. I know I live on Route 26. It's one of the routes that wasn't mentioned, but 115, 100, 202. We have a lot of traffic, and that is a high concern for almost every resident in town. And I also understand the need to manage the costs to taxpayers, obviously. But where you cut matters, and public safety is something that I think most people are willing to pay for in their tax dollars. It's something that actually we all benefit from. And I also think that it should be put to the voters, a change of this magnitude. I heard that you would talk about potentially looking into alternatives, but if you cut them, they're gone. And so you cannot add them back until next budget cycle. So what you're essentially asking the voters to do is
Sandy, I'm sorry,
to give up. Yep, I'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
To cut that public service until a year later. So I would encourage you to please split it out as a separate warrant article and let the voters decide.
Right. Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up?
Howdy, Sam Feifel out in West Gray. I think the sheriff's own presentation should give us all the information we need about the return on the investment that we get from the police officers, right? So he said that they make about 1,200 traffic stops a year. So that's less than 4 a day. I live on Route 202. I would say 1,500 people speed by my house every day, something like that. That's about 10% of the 15,000 cars that go by my house every day. And Sandy makes great points about good policy making. The ad hoc committee is exactly how I want to make policy. Luckily, the research has been done on spend on police officers in our communities. Google, does increasing spending on police officers make communities more safe? There is lots of information on that, including on the Department of Justice's own website that shows there is no correlation whatsoever between how much you spend on police and how safe your community is. In fact, if you want to address speeding, we know how to address speeding. The way you address speeding is to make travel lanes narrower, to put in artificial barriers in the speedway, to make it more difficult to speed. Right? That is how you reduce speeding. We have great examples of it. Go down to Stevens Avenue in Portland. Nobody speeds on that road because there are traffic tables and you have to go 20 miles an hour or you ruin your car. Right? You can do things with bollards, you can do things with striping, you can do things by narrowing the lanes, you can do things by allowing more vegetation to come in. Literally, the studies show that if you just have trees overhanging your road, people will go on average 10 mile an hour slower. Right? So if you want to address the problem of speeding, let's address the problem of speeding. Right? Spending for 3 police officers at almost $700,000 to give a traffic ticket to 4 people a day just does not seem like a good investment of our funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, again, Marcel Vachon here from Gray, and I am in, how do I say this? I really want to continue keeping the officers in Gray. I understand that 4 tickets a day doesn't seem like a lot, and I understand that. But there are, when it comes to traffic calming missions, there's a few things that we can't do. The Main Street here is really controlled by the Department of Transportation. Department of Transportation said at one point, we cannot put in those speed tables because they want to keep the traffic flowing. They want to keep the traffic going through our towns. I understand that with the bypass for the main turnpike and the Parkway bypass, that has taken out some of the traffic in here, but believe me when I say I still have walls that crack in my house from people going too fast and too big of the trucks and so on that are just going through. And one of the things that the VCP has been talking about is doing traffic calming measures, including putting things like curb cutouts and thinning the roads and doing a whole bunch of things, which I hope that VCP goes through. But until then, we have to look at where the safety is. And having a police officer sit on the road is going to slow somebody down. I know it slows me down, and it's one of those things that it's kind of like when you're going down the turnpike and you see blue lights from somebody who's been pulled over. Everybody else slows down. Imagine that. Well, that's what's happening too here. I think that if we get rid of the police department, not only are we opening ourselves up for less regulations, but we're also opening ourselves up for, excuse me, we are opening ourselves up for really, people will know that we don't have as much police presence we have anymore, so they can come back and do vandalizing, or they can do breaking and entering, or any of that stuff. I just think that keeping that police force, perhaps taking it from 3 to 2, instead of going from 3 to 0. I'm not sure if that was discussed at the last meeting. I unfortunately missed it. But perhaps that's an alternative, is to say, okay, we can't go with 3. We need to go with 2. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Julie Sheets, Wilderness Way in Gray. We're a growing town. We are not Mayberry RFD anymore. We're not quite beyond Thunderdome. We're somewhere in the middle. But I think the discussions about cutting from 3 to 0 are premature. I think, as other people have said, we do need to have these conversations. The other thing I want to bring, and a couple of other things, we're talking about cutting over 5% of the budget, and I can't find those new budget figures anywhere on the town website. They were presented verbally at the end of a meeting after public discussion had been closed. You all do great work. The town staff does great work. But this feeling like things are being rolled out verbally with this kind of impact, with not allowing any public discussion about it at the time, does not feel transparent. So I'm going to ask whether you need to start it earlier. I don't have the answers. But if you're going to make those kinds of points or discussions or proposals, please do it much earlier in the process. Get the people in this town involved, because it feels like this ship has sailed. And I think that's a huge mistake, as witnessed by the number of people here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lisa Lena Gilmore. I live on Portland Road. I would like to encourage you to put the sheriff's issue on a warrant. We voted for it. The town voted for it. And I don't understand how you can just decide to change it without a warrant. You've got several warrants coming up this next election. Why should we vote on them? If you can decide to change it when the budget comes around or when you have another meeting. It's, no matter what the people say, if you can just change it, it doesn't make any sense to me. So we voted for it. If you want to ask us if we would like to vote to take it away. Maybe it was an experiment we don't want anymore. Maybe it's an experiment we want. But I just can't even believe that it's possible that y'all can just decide, no, we don't care what you voted. And I think the town should be outraged if that happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan McGuire, Johnson Road, on Gray. I think that you have done an exceptional job of managing the budget, coming in the way that you have. I don't agree with all of the changes that you've suggested or made. I don't expect anyone's going to agree with all of them. But I do think you're struggling to work within your authority and within the rules that you yourselves have taken an oath to follow, the charter, council rules, and those things. I think you really need to, and I appreciate that you're cleaning up a mess that is making it difficult to find the right path. But I think you really need to sharpen your pencils and learn the rules and make sure that you're following them as closely as you can. In 2018, we had a heck of a hole in our capital reserve account and a lot of capital expenses that we could not fund. I don't like to borrow money. I try very hard not to borrow money. I've been pretty successful at it, fortunately, for myself. But there are times when borrowing money is advantageous. Interest rates aren't always as high as they are now. They weren't on some of the bonds that we were talking about. one of the debates that's gone on, that was on when I was on the council a few years ago, is that when you buy a fire truck that's going to last for 25 years, people that are living today in town probably won't be living in town 5 years from now, if you look at the averages, or 10 years from now. People like me and a few other people around that have been here for 40 years are the exception to the norm. And people don't want to incur the taxes required to save that money up front. So I think there is a discussion to be had about how much the people of the present need to contribute to expenses of the future, and how much people in the future can contribute to those expenses when they're making bond payments. Something to think about. We don't want to create that same hole, though, and I am concerned that you're trying to lower the town's taxes on our third of the budget. And I understand there's a group that's trying to work on the school side, and the school side is the part that has driven the costs to live in this community up significantly more than the town side. You cannot save on the town side what everyone would like their ultimate taxes to be, and still provide the services that I think the majority of the people in this town want. When we make decisions like this, we don't always get what we want, and I think we have to think about, as a community, there's some give and take there. The last thing I want to say is, off the ClearGov page, which I don't think has been kept up to date, and I think that is a shame, because it is the best financial tool you have for communicating to the people in the town. There's over 1,500 lines, budget lines in there. It's got every single thing in there, and to my knowledge, it has not been kept up to date.
Okay.
The last thing I want to say is that the population of the town is 8,429 by the census. The number of households is 3,656. The Cumberland County Sheriff's budget would cost each person in this town $77 a year, and it would cost each household in this town $176 a year. And I'm willing to pay $176 a year to have the coverage that we have now.
Thank you.
Scott Liberty. I agree with what Councilman Farrington said earlier tonight. I see the sheriffs in New Gloucester more than I see them in Gray. They're always at the fire department off of Route 100. And what I find amazing is that, I know we're in a blue state, but when the sheriff gets up here and tells us that they stopped taking ICE detainees at the tune of between $3 million and $5 million a year, but they want us to spend more money to have police protection when we tell the federal government to go jump in the lake. This is craziness. $3 to $5 million a year because of political correctness, because we don't want to have ICE detainees housed in the Cumberland County Jail. Now we have to pay for it for some feel-good moral thing that their banner they're waving. This is crazy. We got criminals in this country. The federal government was willing to pay us $3 to $5 million a year to house them. We would be paying less for police service now. Well, now we got to carry it on our backs, and I don't think we should. So I'm in favor of cutting this thing.
Scott. And I'm just going to make a point of order. All I ask people is, when someone's up there talking, please be respectful. And we'll get to her in a second. Just be respectful. If you've got a conversation you want to have, just step outside. But when people are up, I just want to be able to hear them. I appreciate it. Thank you. Please go.
Judy Simino. I just wanted to say thank you for that comment, because that's exactly how I felt too. So I say cut the police budget, because look at Raymond. Raymond's got 11,000 residents and they have zero coverage. They're not paying for anything. And that is not a high crime city, just like ours is not. So there are other towns, North Yarmouth, Pownell, Baldwin, New Gloucester. They're not paying extra for their police force, and they're not in a high state of crime right now, and neither are we. You know, we've had this police force now for a couple couple of years. And what have we gotten from it? I don't really see a lot of results. I don't see anything different from 3 years ago to 5 years ago to today. I don't feel any safer today than I did 5 years ago. But I see the costs are higher. I found that we had a problem with group homes over the last couple of years. And what did the police do for us? Really not anything. It's mostly Ken and Charity that did all that work on those group homes. They're the ones that did it. That was a huge problem in the town of Gray with the duplexes. There was a gentleman named Robert Thayer that lives in South Portland that owns 20 or more group homes in the town of Gray. And it has really put us in a bad position. So kudos to them. They've done a lot of hard work on that. It did make a difference. So I think the coverage that we have right now we don't even have Sunday coverage, Monday coverage, Tuesday coverage. We don't have nighttime coverage, but we're paying $500,000 a year. Well, if someone's going to go, oh, well, we ought to have nighttime coverage. That's what most of the crime is, right? Well, there's another $500,000. Now we're up to $1 million. What did Bob Coleman say last week when we were here? We have got a track record, a 90% increase in our budget over the last 4 years. 90%. So if we have $1 million police budget right now, we're going to be in 4 to 5 years. What are we going to be at? We're going to be at $2 million. That's what we're looking at here. We're not looking at a little $177 a year. Oh no, really? That's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at a $2 million increase in 4 to 5 years. That's why I say I do not think we need the coverage. Raymond doesn't have it. They got 11,000 residents in their town and they don't pay for it. Why are we going to pay for it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Brown, I live on Charlotte. I've lived in Gray almost 40 years. And I can remember a lot of years when we didn't have anything other than not even really sheriff's coverage, but we all used to say anecdotally amongst ourselves, well, the state police barracks is just down the street over by the game farm, right? So we're all set. But that's not true. It wasn't true then, and it certainly isn't true now. There was a lot of discussion for many years in this town before we even brought in the 2 original sheriffs for coverage. And it was reviewed at that time and considered that we have a municipal police, and it was decided that that was more costly, that it was a better use of our monies to use the sheriffs. And that was voted in by the voters. And again, when we voted the 3rd one, that was voted in by the voters. I really support the previous caller, Sandy's call, suggesting that we do some sort of a review, an ad hoc review by the citizenry, so that everyone understands what this is going on here before we let this go on a line item.
Thank you. This lady, Ashley's been holding quite a long time, so if we can let her speak, please. Oh, sir. Oh, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Can you hear us? Ashley?
Actually, you can go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I'm a dude.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'll try to be quick so I can get this out in 3 minutes. But yeah, my name is Ashley Zimmerman, and I live on Blueberry Lane. I just wanted to express my opposition to canceling and defunding our dedicated police patrol contract with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office. And lest we get into any arguments about semantics, we are currently funding a dedicated police patrol. We will no longer be funding that dedicated police patrol. So by definition, because words have meanings, that quite literally constitutes defunding. So no longer having this dedicated patrol would mean fewer deputies around at any given time who would potentially be less familiar with our town. It means less coverage and presence and therefore longer response times. That means, simply put, we are less protected, which makes our community less safe. A few minutes could be the difference between life and death in some situations. Why would we gamble our safety if we don't have to? And as word gets out about this, it will only make us a bigger target for criminals. It was good to see the stats that were presented tonight, and I believe they reinforce the effectiveness and necessity of our contract patrol. But frankly, I think that's just common sense. Personally, I see deputies pretty much every day. I see one at least once a day at the dry mill station. And that puts that deputy in close proximity to areas in and around North Gray, while also serving as a speed deterrent at a dangerous and heavily traveled intersection. I see drivers slowing down all the time in anticipation, even when a deputy's not there. And living on Blueberry Lane, that means, should I need the police, there's a very good chance that a deputy's right down the road. And when I did need them, I was out of the country in the back of a cab in Portugal, and I saw something suspicious on my Ring doorbell camera. I called and had 2 squad cars in my driveway within a few short minutes. They were friendly, communicative, they responded quickly, and most importantly, they figured out what was going on. But that's the story for another time. Who knows what the response time would have been without our dedicated patrol, and I'm glad I didn't have to find out. As a new father who will be raising my family in Gray over the next few decades, I'd rather not find out. Simply put, having less protection jeopardizes my family's safety. For a town of our size that continues to grow and also sees significant amounts of through traffic from hosting part of the turnpike and other major arteries, having a few dedicated deputies should be the minimum level of protection we strive for. In lieu of having our own police department, which would incur significantly larger costs, this is a viable option that I feel effectively balances safety and cost. Judging by the reaction online and with people I've talked to, I think it's clear that many people, if not most, are against canceling and defunding our dedicated patrol. And that makes sense. Most people, if given a choice, don't want less protection than they currently have. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe most do want it canceled, and if that's the case, I'll stop complaining, and so be it, I'll cede to the majority. But I doubt it. And regardless of any of this, we should be able to decide for ourselves as a community. This decision has broad implications for residents, businesses, and visitors, and it should be made by us at the ballot box, not unilaterally, and I would argue rather unceremoniously, by a small group of politicians, however well-intentioned they may be.
Bud, sorry.
If the casual thinks this is a good idea, then they should plead their case to the electorate, and we can vote on it directly. If they don't like the terms of the contract and they want to renegotiate a more favorable one, potentially in conjunction with other municipalities, as stated earlier, then they should look into doing that while be open and forthright with us during the process.
Thank you, Ashley. Your time's up.
Safety right now by canceling the contract without another equivalent plan in place.
Ashley, thank you. Your time's up.
We, the people, deserve to be afforded the opportunity to make the decision ourselves. Anything less is undemocratic, unacceptable, and frankly insulting.
Thank you, Ashley.
Next.
Anybody else want to come up?
All right, nobody else online, so
Can we have some conversation?
Yep, we're gonna have a conversation now,
Beautiful.
so, Ann, do you have some comments you wanna make?
Yeah, I do. I mean, in the March 3rd meeting where the 4 of us gave feedback to the council chair, Mike Johnson, in the minutes that we approved tonight, he pledged to act in the future with more transparency. And I just feel like this decision, this last-minute decision last week to sever this contract with the Cumberland County Sheriffs is not a good example of transparency. And then, you know, in the March 31st meeting, the minutes reflect Chair Johnson stressed the need for earlier budget input. And we haven't seen that on this particular, you know, set of line items, cost center for the town. And I think it's really healthy for us to have a debate over whether or not we need deputies, you know, how safe they make us, how safe they don't make us. But I think in the end, people should have the ability to vote on this as a separate warrant article. It just, you know, especially after last year when we did get it out as a separate warrant article, and I think to the surprise of some people, it passed. I mean, people wanted that deputy, and I think people should have the right to decide. And I'm not moved by anecdotal, you know, sort of examples of, well, I never see the deputy. Well, I mean, maybe you don't go by when he's there, you know, it just, or she's there. I think if there's evidence that they're not doing their job or not getting value for it, you know, show us the evidence. Right now, there is no evidence. There's no data. And other than these sort of anecdotal stories. And honestly, if you see something that the deputy's doing that you don't like, you know, call the sheriff's department and let them know. Because how are they going to make improvements if they don't know? So, I mean, just I'll end here. I just think it needs to be a separate warrant article.
Thank you. I will say, I do agree. I want people to start having input. Process starts in January. I wanted it to start even earlier. You guys need to come, speak up more often, give us your ideas, give your input. We're going, and by the way, I wasn't the only person that, voted on this last week. I think it was 4 out of 5, and it's funny because the rest of us really like the police, but, your opportunity is to input all year long. We start in January to show up at this last meeting when we're reading these warrants, when we're making our final decisions. I encourage you to run. We want more people to run. We need more people on the board. If you don't like the way this is going, we also need to change the rules. We're just following the rules, and you hire us to make these decisions. At the end of the day, if you don't like us, get rid of us. I am fine with that. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything?
I do. The first thing I'm going to say is Mike has spoken up about starting this process earlier, so I'm not hearing that from him the first time. I do believe we should start it and have the numbers in January. That way we could have a couple weeks of people going through the numbers. And, and as far as transparency, you've had every opportunity to get the spreadsheets of the thousands of lines. We've had some conversations about different budget items. We've met with people in the town. I mean, have you gone through those lines? Have you met with people in the town? I mean,
did you tell the voters before last week that you were going to cut this?
No.
That's the point.
But the point is,
the point.
But you haven't been involved. You haven't reached out to us. You haven't asked us anything. You haven't. All you do is your little committees, and that's fine. But the reality is, you don't look at the budget. Just like last year, that's like last year you wanted to raise it $1 million.
Let's have some decorum.
I'm just saying.
Okay, let's have some decorum, please.
Put some skin in the game. But I'm going to say this. If you look at the number of calls or emails that I've gotten, I probably got 25 or 30. That's less than a quarter of 1% of Gray's population. And I understand people are passionate about this, but to me that's not a groundswell. That's some people that are frustrated. And I know fear is a great motivator, but if I look at the other towns that don't have a police force like we do right now, I don't see bank robberies and strict burglaries, and not that I want that, but you got to look at the reality. And like I said, fear is a great motivator, and people are fear. Cumberland County raised the rates by $3 million. We had no voice. Cumberland County just said they're building a substation down in Wyndham, so they're going to be closer. And ultimately, people say we made this decision. We didn't. You folks out there are going to make the decision in June at the ballot box. If you don't want this, vote it down. And then we'll have to go back and, we'll have to look at other cuts that we need to make or other things we need to do. But we're not the final decision. You're the final decision. So that's just the reality. And you can paint it any way you want, but you folks can vote how you want in June.
Are you saying that this is going to be
I don't know if that's going to be on. We're going to have to vote for it if we move forward.
On the budget.
On the budget. So I'm saying on the budget, you're going to have the ability to vote. If you don't want the budget, you don't vote for the budget. And the way we have the budget right now, if everything goes forward with the bond that we're looking to, the money that we're looking to move over, we're not going to have an increase in taxes this year, or at least on our portion of the taxes.
Wow.
So that's.
Is there anything else you want to add before we take our vote?
No.
But we've already gone through public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted, Lisa Elena Gilmore, I just want to see if I understand that if, instead of making a warrant, you would risk us canning the budget and starting.
And if you look at last year, that's exactly what happened. Part of the budget got voted down. And
it wasn't fun, and it cost a lot of time and money. And so why wouldn't you just make this a warrant?
We had a chance to speak earlier.
Yeah,
we're just going to go to a vote. All in favor of the of Order 2526, the 2027 warrant articles? All against? All right, passes 3-2. All right, new business lane, Order 2526-30, the mobile vendor license, Lonnie Docs. The next item on the agenda requires public hearing of the mobile vendor license application for Lonnie Dogs. I am going to open it up to public hearing, and once all the public comment hearing's been done, it's closed, we will have a motion. Anybody? All right. Can I have a motion be ordered that the Gray Town Council hereby approves the mobile vendor license renewal for Lonnie Humphrey, DBA Lonnie Dogs? So I have a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Second, Ken. And all in favor? All right, unanimous. Order one reading, Order 2526-31, Boston Post cane policy. Motion be ordered that the Gray Town Council hereby adopts the updated Boston Post cane policy effective immediately, replacing and superseding all previous versions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion Charity, second Vince. We're going to open up the floor of discussion. Does anybody have any discussion? Any council? All right, just go to a vote then. Oh, is somebody online?
I don't know.
Is this about the Boston Post cane policy? If not, that's all it's about.
Oh, never mind.
All right, so all in favor of the Boston Post cane policy? Unanimous? Resolve one reading, Resolve 2526-35, request to waive return item fee. Motion be resolved that the town council waives $25 return item fee. Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Motion, Ken. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Charity. We're going to open this up to public discussion. All right. We're going to open up the floor. Any council discussion? Okay. All in favor? Unanimous? And then resolve, request to write off rescue billing. Be resolved that town council approves the write-off of a rescue billing balance of the amount of $71.86. Do I have a motion? Motion, Vince. Do I have a second? Second, Charity. Anybody on the floor want to talk? Okay. We're going to open the floor up to council discussion. All right, let's go with vote. All in favor? Unanimous consent. All right, resolve request for approval, Pennell clock display. Motion be resolved that the Gray Town Council hereby grants consent for the installment of a small archival display near a historical Pennell clock on the second floor of the Henry Pennell Municipal Building. Do we have a motion? A motion, Vince, and a second, Charity. And I think that you're going to get up real quick and talk.
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
Be careful with that. Seriously.
This is like deja vu. I feel like I've been here before. I'm Doug Webster. I'm a resident of Casco. I worked for the town for 18 years in community development, various roles, planner, code officer. I was also the town representative for the Pennell renovations 15 years ago. I can't believe that. It's been that long. The Pennell alumni have been devoted to maintaining the clock, as many people know. As part of the 2010 renovations, the Pennell alum funded the moving of the clock behind the 80-foot clock tower with the 4 dials down to the second floor where it is now. About 6 years ago, Don Whitney, when he was still with us, spearheaded an effort to mount the last remaining original clock dial from the 1880s on the wall as a permanent display right here in Pennell. Don Whitney, together with Lloyd Dunn and Donnie Carroll, provided the major funding for that. In September of 2021, the Lakes Region Weekly published an article commemorating the efforts of the Pennell alum for ensuring that the last original dial would be protected and on display. The original discussions were to have this display on the second floor by the dial. If the town council is willing, upon further consideration, it may be appropriate to consider having this article be on the wall on the first floor near the history timeline to encourage interested parties to visit the second floor to see the real thing right here in Pennell. I'd like to thank many of the dedicated parties for their efforts to preserve and maintain the clock and its dials over the years. Mo for mounting that on the second floor, Linda and Rick Balzer of Balzer Family Clockworks for their expertise,
Nathan Sukroff for his photographically documenting the historical artifacts and helping me with this. So I respectfully present this display and request the council's consent to place this on the first floor, if you're willing, near the timeline, out of respect for the Pennell alumni.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Is
thank
there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Get up. Okay. How about the council?
Sounds good to me.
Appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
Doug, thank you for everything. Thank you for everyone that's involved with it, from Sue Croft and everyone else that you mentioned. We really appreciate it. You know, it's great to have a part of our history here, and you know, thank you for everything that you've done.
I'm all on board with his request, but I believe it needs to be changed potentially because it's listed as on the second floor.
I guess my question is this: at the end of the day, if it gets moved to from the second floor to the first floor, does it really matter? No. All right, cool.
Okay.
That's what I thought. All right.
Good
Well,
catch, though.
Good eye.
I think the Pennell alumni that donated the funds might feel differently, but it's up to the
Well,
council.
it just, what I mean is that we don't mind if you move it, even
Okay.
though it's in
Yeah.
here.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. All right. Do we, okay, I guess we'll just go to a vote unless somebody has any comments. All in favor?
Yeah.
All right, unanimous. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug, for doing this.
Thanks,
Doug. Thank
for
you.
Thanks for
waiting
hanging
all
around.
evening for this, too. Now, resolve 2526-38, opening the Boston Post Kane nominations. Motion be resolved that the Gray Town Council authorizes the opening of the Boston Post Kane nomination period following the passing of the prior recipient in accordance with the Boston Kane policy. Do I have a motion?
Make a
Motion
motion.
Charity?
Second.
Second Ken. And we are going to open up the floor for any discussion.
What is the Boston Kane Society? I'm sorry.
Didn't we already deal with this?
Well, no, there was two different
Oh,
things,
sorry,
right? Yeah, one was for the effective immediately
Oh,
adopt
yeah,
the
yeah.
updated
Sorry.
policy,
Yep.
and then the next is the,
Got it.
yeah. All right, any questions from the, I'll find out, yeah.
Oldest resident.
It's the oldest resident. There you
Oldest
go.
resident.
Okay.
Yes.
We have oldest man.
The
Thank you.
Boston
You got a ways
Post.
to go. You have a ways to go.
Yeah, the Boston Post cane was originally established from the Boston Globe over 100 years ago. And they would give out canes to municipalities to give to their oldest residents in town. So, yes, and we just lost ours on February 23rd.
Awesome, thank you. Can I move to unanimous consent? All right, thank you. Resolve 2526-39, disbanding the transfer ad hoc committee. Motion be resolved that the Gray Town Council hereby disbands the ad hoc committee, having completed its assigned charge. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion first and second. Ken and Vince.
I think we need to table it, right?
Well, I thought he's just gonna get us data, right? We were gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna present to the council what you guys
Yeah.
have
So we're
decided to do,
disbanding it,
but,
okay.
Yeah, they've done their job, they've done a great job.
Okay,
They
was
gonna
there
do
any
yours?
public comment for this, or?
They gonna do
Okay.
yours?
Great job. Yeah, great job, guys. Anybody on the council want to say anything, or?
No, it looks, I'm looking forward to diving deeper into it. It looks fantastic.
Awesome. Can I just move to unanimous consent? All right, excellent. Thank you, guys. Referrals, the opportunity to allow councilors to bring forward any additional items for future discussion and consideration of workshop in accordance with council rules. At least two councilors must support a request for it to be added to the workshop agenda. The current council referrals are the comprehensive plan rezoning, the create water quality, which is a shoreline ordinance, the pop-up business ordinance, update the public safety ordinance, the VTP, the policy review, and the mooring ordinance. Update upcoming meetings, the town council workshop, May 5th, 2026, 6 p.m. at the town council. Then the town council meeting, May 5th, 2026 at 7. The town council meeting, June 2nd at 7. And then election day, June 9th from 7 to 8. We are now going to go into an executive session. Motion, the Great Town Council will enter into executive session under MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, 40568 is against personnel matters. The session will include the Great Town Council, interim town manager, and town clerk. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Charity. And all in favor, go into executive session? All right. You know, it's good.
I need to get a rubber band.
Okay.
Ah.